Go ahead.
He almost crawled onto my bed.
How's it going, everyone? Welcome to Mentally Illust Radio. We are back, and here's part 3. It is not Halloween. We're going to see how this goes with less practiced and more frequent shows. As always, you can skip to the time mark where the discussion begins, but we're going to listen to some tunes. Welcome to the show. try to do this as comprehensively as we can. I'm here with my brother Sam, and this is not a Halloween stream like it normally is. And we're going to be doing more frequent shows, hopefully, with more people on. Hopefully we'll get some previous guests back on. So today's show, the thesis is going to be ultimately how to value a good, but we're going to go over who provides the digital ID and alternative governance services and the importance of hatred when valuing a good. So, as usual, let's try to start with just a couple definitions. I was looking up the definition of ecosystem here, which you would think is not related, but we're going to be talking about how this relates to something called agorism, or this idea of the agora. Let's look up that. Agoraphobia. An ancient marketplace and assembly area, which is very similar to what an ecosystem is in regards to how an environment benefits all the organisms around it. I guess there's lots of different kinds of agoras, but
yeah, the agora or agora, that one in Wikipedia. So you're thinking of the Greek city-states?
Yeah, there's the agora, which is the original agora, which is the Greek city-state, which is kind of what we're talking about. We're talking about a city.
That's a central. The agora is the central public space. It's like a big open square. It's like a public square.
Okay, yeah. So let's look up what agorism is. A political philosophy. Why does that have to be political? Oh, a stateless society. Well, how is that political if it's stateless?
Achieved. Like how's atheism? It's like how is atheism an identity if it's just defined as not theism?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
I always make that point, but yeah, this is funny with anarchy. It's the same thing. It's like
anarchy is not anarchy
Yeah.
is not politics the way that I guess atheism is not theism.
It's a rejection of politics. Yeah.
A stateless society achieved through voluntary exchange in a free market, often using the counter economy of black and gray markets to exist outside of state control. Founded by Samuel Edward Konkin III, it seeks to replace the state by developing alternative voluntary institutions and economic activity, such as cooperatives and self-sufficient communities, while disengaging from the formal capitalist economy. Formal meaning political, I guess they're trying to say, because it's still capitalism, but not government-sanctioned, government-backed capitalism. It's free market capitalism in its purest form, unregulated. The term comes from the Greek word agora, meaning a public marketplace. And the core principles are counter economy, voluntary exchange, dual power economy. Agorists work to build a parallel economy of cooperatives, small enterprise, and community groups that compete with and eventually supplant state-controlled institutions. Rejection of the state it's fundamentally anti-state, viewing state interference as a violation of voluntary exchange, because it is. It's a third party in a two-party relationship that doesn't need one.
Relate it back to ecology.
Much like how marriage doesn't need one either. But that's a whole different story. Like we don't need third parties.
Relate it back to ecology.
To
ecology? That's how you got on this book.
I started off with ecosystem. Oh, ecology.
Oh, ecosystem. Okay, yeah. Well, okay then. So.
But that's a good word though. Ecology. What does that mean? how organisms interact with each other in their physical environment. Yeah, very similar. So
The study of it versus the thing itself. An ecosystem is the thing itself. Ecology is the study of it.
so what's red market shunning? Congdon explicitly condemned the red market, which includes all coercive acts like theft and murder, as illegitimate and separate from the counter economy. Yeah, because that's what the state is. It's it has theft and murder, and it's coercive. Coercive acts of theft and murder. We don't need that shit in our voluntary exchanges, do we?
I don't think so.
Yes, we do. Otherwise, how would there be order?
No, we don't, Jared. I'm here to tell you. You, Jared, you don't need the state.
I don't need to look up Samuel Edward III. So, really what we're talking about is the difference between public and private services. So let's look that up real quick. Public versus private service. Or should I just look up one or the other?
You should do that. What you're doing right now. Also, you should open
Oh,
it.
okay. The main difference is ownership, according to AI. The public sector is government owned, while the private sector is owned by individuals or companies. Public service often emphasizes community impact and stability, with more structured pay and comprehensive benefits, though it can be slower moving.
While you're at it, can you open a new tab and search private versus personal property?
Yeah, we're gonna get to that. In contrast, the private sector is driven by profit and competition, often offering higher earning potential and faster career advancement, but with less job security and greater risk. Why is it? Oh, I guess it's greater risk because there's no government protecting you from getting fired for no reason, which means that it's the way it should be. Anybody can do business with anyone and end that business at any time, and they don't need anybody's permission to do it. Okay, I guess here are the main differences. Government ownership versus private individuals and companies. Its primary goal to provide essential services and benefit the public, or to generate profit and growth for the business. And I guess you could also say a tax cut for the government. Funding is publicly funded from tax. Oh no, I'm sorry. This one is to provide essential services and benefits to the public by the government. And this is to generate profit and growth for the business, for the private business.
Same.
And funding is funded by taxes, fees, and debt, whereas this is funded by revenue, investments, and loans. Accountability to the public, elected officials, and other stakeholders, or accountability to owners, board of directors, and shareholders, and also customers. Right? Shareholders or customers. Job security is higher in the public sector, but and more risks of layoff in the private sector. Public versus I meant to say I keep getting confused here. Often more stable structured pay with comprehensive benefits like health insurance and retirement plans, or higher earning potential through performance-based pay, bonuses, and stock options.
Is this the table of contents section?
I kind of already briefly went over what the...
So we're on what right now?
We're talking about definitions and public. We're in the first part. Public versus private services.
Okay.
So you can see here, the reason why I bring this up is also to talk about what we were talking about last time. We talked about, because we're going to segue into covering a video that did you want to do something real quick? Oh, did you want to real quick cover, did you want to cover personal versus private property real fast?
Sure.
Or?
You can keep talking though.
Well, I need to use the screen. I don't know what you're doing here. You're making notes.
Alright, let's just define our terms, Jared. So, right here I want you to right, like ecosystem, agora, public service, or agora, agorism. Yeah, basically, this is for the audience as well. This is for you to follow along.
And then I guess you could say personal versus private property, right?
And yeah, okay, so here,
Let's look that up. What are we gonna do?
I have a question. Are you trying to say that an ecosystem and an agora are like the same thing?
They're similar, being that an ecosystem was defined as
Like a true
how
appreciation economy.
it's
right?
how organisms interact with their environment and how they are how
Would
they
you say the state of nature and the ecosystems in nature are like a appreciation economy par excellence or whatever?
Yes, it is like a agora. It's an exchanging of energy, or an exchanging of food, or exchanging of something from the environment that's valuable, and it's an exchanging of value between individual organisms, and how they are acquired and exchanged in the environment, and how they link together in a overarching system which doesn't have any central control. It just there's emergent order without any centralized order. There's emergent order in an ecosystem. There is an emergent order in an agora, or in agorism practices. It's very similar to the natural ecosystem of organisms participating in their natural environment. So anyway, back to personal versus private property. Personal property refers to movable assets like furniture and cars, while private property refers to a system where an owner can exclude others from using something, such as a house or factory. Therefore, personal property can be private or public, and private property can include both personal property and real property, like land. Okay, this is like really confusing here. Kind of confusing up the terms here. So public means government, private means private ownership, but personal and private property are also legal terms referring to, I guess, the scale of property. Personal property being something that only you use, versus private property, which is something that is used by others, but ownership still retains to you. So, like, I guess you could call that what the communists call what do they call it? What's it called?
Sentimental personal effects.
No.
That will let you keep your
No,
little
what
trinkets.
do communists call the factories? The modes of production, or
The means of
the
production.
means of production. Yes. So I guess private property is what a communist would call the means of production, but that doesn't mean that that's still not manifested by an individual for their own individual profit, and there's nothing wrong with that. Because a profit incentive can be beneficial to everybody. So I guess personal property is movable property that is not permanently attached to the land. I don't know why this matters so much. We're talking about property and personal property, I think, because Sam wanted to, but it's not as relevant.
Was it? No, you're the one who wrote the outline here.
I said public versus private.
Oh,
But-
I went on that tangent.
Yeah.
Well, because the reason it's important because people get those confused, personal and private. So just at the very heads up, that's the difference. At
Okay,
the
so-
very front, there's a heads up.
So the reason why we're talking and defining clearly what personal and private, versus what public versus private services are, public being government provided, and private being personal, individual provided, is that the digital ID is not going to be provided directly by the government. It's going to be provided through private services in partnership with governments. I wanted to cover some of the points made in this video This is how hard it is to find James Corbett's channel.
To install.
Very informative video. I highly recommend watching this video and reading the 30-page document that this guy has posted. It's basically talking about how there's not going to be one huge push coming from one central place when this digital ID is rolled out. It's going to be rolled out kind of like lockstep the way that COVID was rolled out, where these elitists have already previously met somewhere in secret and collaborated to release this in tandem with each other. And this is going to be through private partnerships with government, which is not really private if you think about it, but it is technically.
It's a oxymoron, just like non-governmental organization NGOs. Those are literally government-funded organizations. They just call them non-government organizations.
Yeah.
It's Orwellian like speech.
So as you can see, I don't know if you've seen this infographic before. Usually people do it on media, but it's on everything. On every product and service there is out there, everything that is mainstream is technically what we're talking about here. It's a private service in partnership with a government-regulated club, I guess you could say. Like they're all owned by this is how 6 companies own all the food, or not 6. I'm not sure if there's just 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Because I know it's 6 companies own media companies, but anyway.
What, it's actually how many? 9? Well then, I don't think it's a big deal.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I don't know how
13.
Oh, 12 companies.
12.
And right here it says 10. So I don't know how recent.
You made it sound as if there were 6, but there are 12. That's healthy. That's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. Like we should just relax,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
No, the point I'm making is that this is how anybody is excluded. Everyone who isn't in this club or isn't partially owned and a part of this conglomerate club are not able to provide food and food services. Much the same way how when COVID was rolled out, it was rolled out by these private, healthcare, Pfizer. It was a private product. It was a product being provided by a private entity, much like the Federal Reserve, how it's a private entity, not associated with the government, and yet it runs the money of our country, of the government. So in the same way, this isn't something that you can say no to one thing. This is something that's going to be rolled out by many different companies in many different forms. In whatever work you work at, your company might roll it out as part of their healthcare service plan. Who knows? And it might be like a partnership with
What's going to be striking is
the insurance company, and then your company that has a business partnership with some government subsidiary company. What are you gonna say?
What's going to be striking is how totalizing and coordinated and sudden it'll be. It's going to roll out so quickly, and every aspect, every field, every sector, every part of the economy and your life, from education to healthcare, traveling, commerce, will be like all of them are already under the domain or whatever, under the control of, like, according to the devil, according to the Bible, it's the world is already under the control of the devil, in the sense that Watchman Nee calls it, says that the world as it is Satan's masterpiece. It's a system that he's been refining over centuries, and if you'll notice, the 20th century, 21st century, there has been achieved like a totalizing control of the whole world by man. Some people have called it the Anthropocene, where the entire environment is there's a total, what's it called? Yeah, total control and overseeing of the environment by man, which was previously not the case, at least maybe not since. And
when you say the devil, you don't it doesn't necessarily have to be the Christian devil. It's like a spiritual entity. Well, it doesn't. Okay, well, Sam says it does, but
I disagree. But
you could just say the devil is in the satanic.
Hey, do you want to
incentive?
Pause? Do you want to pause, or because he's going to interrupt just because he's going to be walking on? What do you want to do?
That's fine. That's fine.
All right.
Yeah, that's fine. I sent him a link, so he should know that we're streaming. So, one of the things that they go over in this video, and I highly recommend watching it, is it was really interesting how when COVID was rolled out, it was even though it was just a mandate, a government mandate, the products and all of the like private places like grocery stores, and the bus was a public service, but there were many like private businesses, places of employment, that all seem to enforce this privately on a private level. This is called cultural Marxism. I don't know if you guys have heard of this term. Let's just look that up real quick before I just try to define it. This is a way that you push something onto people in a more covert way than making it a king's decree. It's like you make the people enforce the law on each other. Cultural Marxism, well, you're going to get a really obfuscated definition here. Cultural Marxism is...
That's more helpful than a real definition, actually. I think the proper...
Hey, Jared, we're in the middle of streaming.
What?
We're in the middle of streaming, just letting you know.
But, hey, what's up?
Hey, you need to let me know and ask if you want to have the company over.
I thought I did. I'm so sorry, man. I thought I did. I thought I said I was having Jared over on Monday. Whatever. I didn't. Okay.
Yeah, please do
I'm
that.
sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
So, according to Google, cultural Marxism is a far-right anti-Semitic conspiracy theory that falsely claims a group of intellectuals known as
the Frankfurt
School, which actually, that's actually, I'm surprised they mentioned the Frankfurt School, are intentionally subverting Western culture through progressive movements, identity politics, and political correctness.
And they forgot to mention social engineering.
Yeah, and think tanks like the Frankfurt School. They didn't mention think tank, but they mentioned the Frankfurt School. This theory is a revival of Nazi propaganda, of a Nazi propaganda term, and has been linked to white supremacists and terrorist groups. It's Nazis and terrorists that are propagating this.
What this AI overview is presenting is the what do you call it? Like the mainstream appropriate way to
How is that anti-Semitic?
Talk about cultural Marxism, which is to smear it as a conspiracy theory. Not only that, it used to be that you'd be smeared as a kooky nut job, like tinfoil hat guy.
Just for saying the word cultural Marxism.
But that wasn't working.
You're a Nazi and anti-Semitic if you just say the word.
It wasn't really hitting hard enough. People weren't ashamed enough, so they made it even worse. Now they're saying it's racist. It's racist and anti-Semitic.
Specifically toward Jewish people for some reason.
To notice and point out and be aware of the fact that the Frankfurt School exists, I guess, that's racist and a Nazi.
Even though you can look it up. You can look up the Frankfurt School, and it's not Jewish. It's an American think tank. So I don't know,
Interesting.
but it probably has a lot of Israel influence. It probably was founded by an Israeli.
Well, I guess they would say that the conspiracy theory part is claiming that they were intentionally subverting the. What did it say, Jared? Because that's what they state. That's what they say, like straight from the horse's mouth in their writings, is that they're subverting American society, or like
Oh, it's in Germany.
all founded structures of power. I think that includes.
That's funny. They don't use the word think tank at all in the definition or in the AI overview. What's a think tank? What's a think tank?
Let's not spend too long.
I know. I'm not. I'm just. Yeah, it's basically a secret group that gets together and writes culture for 10 years from now. Like all the cultural shit that comes out, like mansplaining, that was thought up by a think tank
Was it?
20 years ago.
I
And
thought-
they have a schedule to release these things.
I thought just a BPD girl came up with that and posted it on Tumblr
Sure.
in like
I don't think so.
2014 or something.
Yeah, it probably came from a think tank. I'm just saying. So, I would describe cultural Marxism as getting a minority group to be victimized by a majority group in the eyes of the people, so that you can call anybody in a majority group, like if you're male, like or Caucasian, or straight, you know what I mean, like the vast majority of
It's
of people
really,
are,
yeah.
and make them the villains over small tiny minority groups like midgets
Yeah,
or
yeah,
like
yeah.
transgender
Well,
whatever.
I would say, okay, I agree with your definition there, except the way I've always said it is that it's this a secular religion, a state religion that enforces hatred of.
I wouldn't say it's a religion. I'd say it's a mode of incentivizing.
But it has to be supported by an ideology, because people wouldn't care about it unless there was some kind of ideology attached that explains the world. And
Okay, so for example, like when COVID came out,
that's a religion.
yeah, I guess COVID was like a religion.
No, well, I'm saying that what do they call it? It's like, well, I would just call it
It's an ideology.
wokeness. That's what people call it, is wokeness right now. It used to be, remember when people called it social justice warriors?
Yeah.
Okay, well, they call it different things. They used to call it politically correct, and when they were just being annoying about it, and then they started like shooting people, and so
It's like a way of shaming people into obedience.
Anyway, so yeah, what I was gonna say about that was that okay, I'm trying not to lose my train of thought here. Cultural Marxism is how I describe it, and it is the current secular secular religion of the state, state enforced. In fact,
I guess you could call it the mainstream point of view.
we're starting to see the first legitimate pushback against it in the second Trump administration, but
there's a cult. There's a cult.
since I would say since Obama, so the 2008 era.
It's not just
is-
leftist.
Okay. So since Obama, there really has been this state enforced, this secular religion is what I call it, and cultural Marxism is like kind of the heart of it. And the way I describe it to people is it has to be enforced, but it's the enforced hatred of conventional categories of people. So in America,
Hatred of majority groups.
majority categories, common majority categories, conventional categories, normative categories, and so
Where there's the most people who believe the most common thing.
in America, the most normal groups is straight white male Christian. and so those are the normative groups.
Actually, I think there's technically
And-
more women than men.
Okay, well,
But-
on the gender thing,
But I mean,
they talk about how it's what I'm trying to say here is normative doesn't necessarily apply to majority, even though there is a correlation, but not always.
but it is trying to directly pit
Not always.
the majority versus the minority. That's because
But
it's supposed to get to the heart.
Yeah.
It's supposed to like pull at your emotional heartstrings and be like, oh, there's only a couple of them versus all of them.
And it is really just pitting people against each other. That
Yeah.
at the end of the day, there's like something behind it.
But no,
that's
but specifically, less versus more people, like minority groups versus majority groups. The majority groups are the villains because the minority groups don't have as much people, so it's not as
I wouldn't
common
call it minority because
to have
remember,
that
Jared,
as many
remember
of their
the
value.
You just mentioned the example of men and women. Women are the majority. However, men are the group that are systematically and like state enforced, receive state enforced oppression and limitation.
Yeah, so it's the idea that the government needs to correct this injustice.
Right.
There's, you know what? The fact that minorities exist is an injustice against them.
You're not allowed to be a man.
You're not allowed. You're not.
In the workforce. In fact, there's a really good recent article about that. I just want to mention it briefly, if that's okay.
Sure.
This was a fascinating article. Yeah, let's read it like a little bit of this. Could we do that? Could I read it out loud for the audience? And then we'll
Sure,
pause and
briefly.
talk. Okay.
What is this? Oh, I don't know how this is.
I think you will really appreciate this, Jared.
Okay.
All right, just trust me. So this is an article by Helen Andrews. It's called "The Great Feminization." I'm just going to start reading it. We'll start talking about it. I think it'll be clear how it relates. So it starts in 2009. I read it.
19.
Sorry. In 2019, I read an article about Larry Summers and Harvard that changed the way I look at the world. The author, writing under the pseudonym J. Stone, argued that the day Larry Summers resigned as president of Harvard University marked a turning point in our culture. The entire quote-unquote woke era could be extrapolated from that moment, from the details of how Summers was canceled and, most of all, who did the canceling, women. The basic facts of the Summers case were familiar to me. On January 14, 2005, at a conference on diversifying the science and engineering workforce, Larry Summers gave a talk that was supposed to be off the record. In it, he said that female underrepresentation in the hard sciences was partly due to the, quote, different availability of aptitude at the high end, end quote, as well as taste differences between men and women, quote, not attributable to socialization, end quote. Some female professors in attendance were offended and sent his remark to a reporter in defiance of the off-the-record rule. Wow, that's nasty. The ensuing scandal led to a no-confidence vote by the Harvard faculty and eventually Summers' resignation. The essay argued that it wasn't just that women had canceled the president of Harvard, it was that they'd canceled him in a very feminine way. They made emotional appeals rather than logical arguments. Quote, when he started talking about innate differences in aptitude between men and women, I just couldn't breathe because this kind of bias makes me physically ill, end quote, said Nancy Hopkins, a biologist at MIT. Summers made a public statement clarifying his remarks, and then another, and then a third, with the apology more insistent each time. Experts chimed in to declare that everything Summers had said about sex differences was within the scientific mainstream. These rational appeals had no effect on the mob hysteria. This cancellation was feminine, the essay argued, because all cancellations are feminine. cancel culture is simply what women do whenever there are enough of them in a given organization or field.
I don't like that they're trying to like link cultural Marxism to women. I know that cultural Marxism has been used to supposedly address the injustices toward women, but it's not like women are naturally cancel cultured. You know, that's what they want you to believe.
I would say, okay, what you're missing here, she's addressing cancel culture, which is this phenomenon from that started in the late 2000s. What you're talking about, which is the cultural Marxist tendency to start persecuting, punishing, killing your enemies. That happens all the time. It's called different things. It used to be called struggle sessions in China. So there's always a different name for it or whatever. But right, I think
it's specifically referring to getting the government to fight for you.
Yeah, but that's when
it's not you personally.
That's what we're talking.
Get the government to kill the people.
That's
for
exactly
you.
what we're talking about here.
Yeah, and I would say that's actually the root or the origin of feminism too. It's like, hey, ladies, you need to be government freaks too, and use the government to attack men because like you can't fight your own battles. Nobody can fight their own battles. We need the government to fight our battles.
So what this is arguing is that the modern version of the modern version of Marxist retaliation and aggression towards all the normative categories of people, straight, white, male, Christian, is that they use cancel culture and they use cancellation. And what the article is claiming is that cancellation, this modern form of the Marxist aggression, has a feminine character to it because it only happens in these corporate and educational organization environments where women become a majority of the field, and that's a unique and modern thing, and it speaks to the fact that women are uniquely propagandized.
Oh yeah, they're targeted for sure. They're targeted with mind control way more because they're the ones that are ultimately have the power of reproduction. So they want to make sure that the right people reproduce and the right people don't.
The thing is, it's sad.
I mean, the wrong people don't.
It's sad because women have this really wonderful quality of agreeableness that they totally abuse.
Or they exploit, you should say.
A man is more disagreeable than a woman. A woman's, it's really sweet and wonderful when they're agreeable in a good way. But when they're agreeable in a bad way, it looks like this HR culture, cancel culture thing where basically you have to agree with everybody has to agree with everybody else. There has to be this group consensus at all times. And the way that conflicts are handled, if anybody disagrees, they're shunned or whatever.
Yeah.
So
it's public shaming and shunning. Instead of the government punishing you if you disobey, the group shames you and punishes you.
Yeah.
And sometimes it goes further than shaming. Sometimes it goes to violence.
And I do think
it's mostly like we shame you and then the government comes and punishes you and everybody agrees. Because you got shamed by the group, now it's okay for the government to use violence against you.
Yeah. Anyway, going on, I want to get to the point of this article. Okay, so basically it says, all right, the cancellation was feminine, the essay argued, because all cancellations are feminine. Cancel culture is simply what women do when there are enough of them in a given organization or field. That is the great feminization thesis, which the same author later elaborated upon at book length. Everything you think of as wokeness is simply an epiphenomenon of demographic feminization. The explanatory power of this simple thesis was incredible. I don't necessarily agree with that because I think wokeness also comes from cultural Marxism, but also cultural Marxism kind of draws on this feminine tendency to
I would say feminism is an example of cultural Marxism because you can.
Yeah.
There's different forms of cultural Marxism besides.
I'm not talking about feminism.
targeting women and.
I'm talking about feminine nature, which is, they're the weaker vessel.
Oh no, I'm
That's what
talking
the Bible says.
about feminism, not necessarily
And
femininity. I'm talking about
they're
feminism.
they're also they have like qualities that are exploited and abused and inverted and stuff by the their goodness is inverted when they're
Yeah, it's
anyway,
their like you said, it's their agreeable it's their
yeah.
agreeableness that's being exploited. That's why they hate
Yeah.
Masculinity, because of the disagreeableness.
Okay, so
Right.
going on. The explanatory power of this thesis was incredible. It really did unlock the secrets of the era we are living in. Wokeness is not a new ideology, an outgrowth of Marxism, or a result of post-Obama disillusionment. It is simply feminine patterns of behavior applied to institutions where women were few in number until recently. How did I not see it before? Possibly because, like most people, I think of feminization as something that happened in the past before I was born. When we think about women in the legal profession, for example, we think of the first woman to attend law school, 1869, the first woman to argue a case before the Supreme Court, 1880, or the first female Supreme Court justice, 1981. A much more important tipping point is when law schools became majority female, which occurred in 2016. Or when law firm associates became majority female, which occurred in 2023. When Sandra Day O'Connor was appointed to the High Court, only 5% of judges were female. Today, women are 33% of judges in America and 63% of the judges appointed by President Joe Biden.
Who cares?
The same trajectory can be seen in many professions. A pioneering generation of women in the 1960s and 70s, increasing female representation through the 1980s and 90s, and gender parity finally arriving, at least in the younger cohorts, in the 2010s or 2000s. In 1974, only 10% of New York Times reporters were female. The New York Times staff became majority female in 2018, and today the female share is 55%. Medical schools became majority female in 2019. Women became a majority in the college-educated workforce nationwide in 2019. Women became a majority of college instructors in 2023. Women are not yet a majority of the managers in America, but they might be soon, as they are now 46%. So the timing fits. Wokeness arose around the same time that many important institutions tipped demographically from majority male to majority female. The substance fits too. Everything you think of as wokeness involves prioritizing the feminine over the masculine, empathy over rationality, safety over risk, cohesion over competition. Some writers who have proposed their own version of the great feminization thesis, such as Noah Carl and Bo Weingart and Corey Clark, who looked at feminization's effects on academia, offer survey data showing sex differences in political values. One survey, for example, found that 71% of men said protecting. I'm sorry, I'll read that again. One survey, for example, found that 71% of men said protecting free speech was more important than preserving a cohesive society. And 59% of women said the opposite. So we're at loggerheads. The sexes are at loggerheads on that question. Which is more important, free speech or preserving a cohesive society?
But the latter doesn't even sound like it's specifically or even defined.
I know.
Like, what
It
the
could
hell
be.
is that?
It could be.
It could be anything.
Anything. Exactly. Yeah. Okay.
They're basically saying, what's more important, free speech
Or
government tyranny?
Yeah. Okay. Exactly.
Another way of saying it is, what's more important, truth or peace?
Well,
But it's not. Yeah, but tyranny
truth
isn't
or
peace though. Like that's retarded. It's not peaceful to have tyranny.
Yeah. It's
You can't
kind
have
of.
truth without peace, and
it's
you can't
kind-
have peace without truth.
Yeah, but it's kind of a false to say that a cohesive society is necessarily a peaceful society. I think that cohesive could be like a really oppressive society. But
Well, cohesive has nothing to
Not
do with the
exactly
government
peaceful.
though.
Okay.
But they're saying it does. They're saying that cohesive means government.
Anyway, that was one survey, or one study. So the most relevant differences are not about individuals, but about groups. In my experience, individuals are unique, and you come across outliers who define stereotypes every day. But groups of men and women display consistent differences, which makes sense if you think about it statistically. A random woman might be taller than a random man, but a group of 10 random women is very likely to have an average height greater than, very unlikely to have an average height greater than that of a group of 10 men. The larger the group of people, the more likely it is to conform to statistical averages. Most people really don't understand that concept. If you bring up a statistical average to somebody, like if you say the average height of a woman is 5'1", the first thing most people will say, like a woman will say to you, is, "I'm 5'3", but I'm 5'3". You know what I mean?
Do you know what average means?
Exactly. Okay, so moving on here. Okay. Female group dynamics favor consensus and cooperation. Men order each other around, but women can only suggest and persuade. Any criticism or negative sentiment, if it absolutely must be expressed, needs to be buried in layers of compliments. The outcome of a discussion is less important than the fact that a discussion was held, and everyone participated in it. The most important sex difference in group dynamics is attitude to conflict. In short, men wage conflict openly while women covertly undermine and ostracize their enemies. I think it's pretty well stated at that point. She goes on to talk about how,
I would disagree that is not an accurate description of women.
Of men or women?
That's an accurate description of
propagandized women.
Government freak women.
Yeah, exactly.
Or government freak men.
Yeah, they
Okay.
Statist women.
Statist women.
Statist
Yes.
men.
Yes, that's how statist men are different to statist women.
People who really just don't look beyond the government for a source, guiding source of principles or morality, which is really sad.
Or regulation, or governance, or order, something like that. So
I would like to smoke a cigarette. I know that's unprofessional, but will you please allow me that? Maybe you can present something.
Can we like do a
Sure.
an intermission?
I'm sorry.
We're doing intermission in like 30 minutes. Okay.
I'm gonna smoke a cigarette right now, but let me just connect what I said is cultural Marxism. It's the sort of the targeting, the systematic targeting of normative groups through these like enforcement mechanisms, like hatred, enforced hatred, and things like that. Ascribing blame to groups like that, or like ascribing like existential blame, not like specific blame. Like for instance, this thing criticizing blaming women for cancel culture. The thing is, like, that's a specific complaint, versus cultural Marxism. The type they do is, it's not about like a thing. The complaint isn't about a thing. It's about a way of being or a person, or it's about like the unacceptableness of the group itself. That's what the complaint is. The complaint isn't, white people are racist. White people need to be less racist. The complaint is white people. The inherent essence of whiteness is a hateful racism. Therefore, we need to destroy whiteness itself. And that's
we need to destroy majority groups.
Yeah.
We need to tear down all majority groups, majority beliefs, majority religion, majority politics, majority everything. Anything that is
so cultural Marxism really does take that extra step in vilifying groups of people, saying the problem
specifically
isn't,
majority.
Like the
groups.
problem isn't what they do. The problem is that they do it because they're that type of group.
No,
they're that like
They're bad. They're bad because they're outnumbered.
They're bad, yeah.
Or because they're overnumbered.
Yeah.
Or I guess you could say the victims are victims simply because they are outnumbered. That's it.
Yeah.
Like regardless of whether or not the thing itself is helpful
I guess the other thing
or not, it's
important to say
they're
this
outnumbered,
too.
so it's bad.
It's important to say this too, is that cultural Marxism does that sort of in-group, out-group, pitting people against each other that we have been describing for the past 45 minutes. But they also, the other thing about it is that it's fundamentally atheistic in the sense that it does not derive its morals from the Bible or any religious tradition. It derives.
You shouldn't say atheistic. You should say morally relativistic.
Or if it was okay. I say atheistic
because their principles.
I guess it does.
Their principles of morality are not based in any real principles.
It does.
It's relative.
See, I'm thinking about priors. I'm thinking about in terms of priors. Like what are their priors? What are their what's their lineage of the genealogy of their whole thought, of their whole value system. So like when the Frankfurt School was writing in the 30s or whatever, they were all united with this common desire, this common motive, this common mission and purpose, which
to
was
give the government more power.
Well,
to give the government more influence over culture.
I think it was more malevolent. It was like they wanted to tear down and kneecap they wanted to kneecap the functional and attractive and
useful
normal person.
No, but you're saying normal, but what we're really talking about is merit based. It's like the complete counterpoint to the cultural Marxism, which is like it's bad because it's more. There's more of it, so it's bad. Versus it's more of it, so maybe there's good in it because a lot of people adopt it. It has merit. It has merit to it. There's merit to it. Therefore, lots of people buy it because it's useful as a product. It has something essentially good about things that are commonly used.
I disagree. Saying that something has goodness based on the number of people espousing it is just as irrational as saying that something just as irrational as what you're saying cultural Marxism does about saying that something is good based on its minority or something is bad based on its majority, because people have sin and that's a super common thing and people connect around that, and so something just isn't good because it's more common. It's just
I wasn't saying that. I was saying that maybe the reason why it's more common is because there is merit to it. I'm not saying that necessarily everything with merit or everything that is common has merit, but I'm saying that there's a reason why it became common, because lots of people bought it, because lots of people believed that it had merit. Regardless, I mean, it might have merit, it might not have merit, but a lot of people believed that it had merit. So,
Josiah makes a good point.
It became popular through merit.
Josiah makes a good point that actually is probably a central criticism of your appreciation economy concept, and I guess also the invisible hand, which I wanted to get into one of my notes.
No, because just because people can be tricked. Okay, go ahead. Fine.
It's really rude for you to interrupt people.
Sorry.
Okay. So I wanted to compare and contrast the appreciation economy concept that Jared is outlining versus the invisible hand, which is Adam Smith, I believe,
We just went over the last podcast how invisible hand actually supports.
Compare and contrast
supports
in the sense
this.
that they're
not a contrast.
They're both actually different, but they're also similar. That's why I want to compare and contrast. Do you want to look up the invisible hand again? Sure thing. But they're both similar in the sense that they're trying to say that nature itself the natural course or consequence of things will in a free market, unregulated environment where government, for example, isn't interfering or like controlling the market, and things are allowed to play out. Laissez-faire, Jared, means let it go or let it play or something like that. Basic means
Hands off.
yeah. Laissez-faire. What is actually? Can you look it up? Laissez-faire. Hands off.
I think that means hands off.
I can't spell laissez-faire.
Just try your best.
Yeah.
Let do.
But it means, but Josiah pretty much said it though. Hands off.
No, but
Look,
do.
Hands off, right
Okay,
there.
but let do is the literal meaning, and like what I was trying to say is, the invisible hand and the appreciation economy state that if you take your hands off and let people do what they will or whatever, like
Not you.
without
Let's start talking about government hands off.
government hand, as in if people are, let me rephrase that. If people are allowed to, if people are afforded to do what you would say, they have a right to do, which is, we talk about rights and stuff, but basically if people weren't governed in a situation where people were not governed or regulated by a police agency, for example, or a state,
would people make value judgments?
The theory of
Right value
Shut
judgments.
up. I'm talking. Don't interrupt me. That's when you do that. I hate that shit. So, anyway, yeah, basically the theory of the invisible hand and your appreciation economy are saying that when people are not in a governed state, that the economy will naturally structure around inherently good things being promoted and rewarded, inherently bad things being rewarded and suppressed, right?
I have a way of summing this up perfectly.
All right, I know. I just talked a lot. And
We're not in that section yet.
Go for it. Yeah.
So,
that's it.
what Josiah said about how if something isn't necessarily good just because it's popular, and you're saying, oh, it's a counterpoint to
I'm saying
laissez-faire.
that's a great criticism of the invisible hand and laissez-faire.
No, it's not. No, listen.
The market rewards gambling and prostitution and all that stuff.
Okay, that's a sub market. That's a niche market, which means that it's not going to be popular to everyone. Only the people who desire that market. Okay, it does just because, pornography, for example, is deemed to be valuable by a specific group of people, doesn't mean that all people think pornography is good. It just means that there's a market for pornography amongst certain people.
What about right now, where things like gambling and pornography are these huge industries, whale industries?
Yeah, what it shows is that there's what do you call it? The merit of a product or service being considered majority favored or to be good by the majority means that it's based on the value judgments of individuals, which means that individuals need to be better at value judging, and our culture reflects the values of the majority individuals.
It reminds me of Ben Franklin saying,
So then a cultural Marxist would say, well, then cultural Marxism is good. It's the savior that comes in and saves people from their bad value judgments, so we can all shame them. And I would say, yeah, I actually agree with that. Cultural Marxism in that context is good because, we have just as much of an ability to judge something as good as to shame people for valuing something as good when they're wrong. So, but cultural Marxism in this sense is specifically referring to government using the government to punish people for what you don't like. Okay, not just shaming people for making bad value judgments. Okay.
How does that differ from governance?
Well, governance would be a governance service, and if you think that somebody is providing a bad governance service that everyone's buying into thinks is good, you can start a awareness campaign to shame and put down that company or that brand or that product or whatever, and you're not appealing to a government to come punish those people. You're instead, publicly speaking out against it, or publicly shaming those who participate or buy that product or service. So like not just boycotting, but also shaming the people who bought the Nintendo Switch 2.
Okay, so you're saying, because for a long time, I mean, there's been this this consumer ethos for a long time since the 50s, like this boomer thing where it's like, vote with your dollar, they won't change unless you, like boycottism. Yeah, boycottism. And that's like a defanged version of sort of the appreciation economy concept of like, things that are good are rewarded, things that are bad are punished or whatever. By the way, Jared, that is literally the definition, biblical definition of what a government's purpose is to reward the good and protect the good and punish and discourage the wicked.
But the government isn't the one that should be doing the punishing. And because we can already, people are already punished when they lose business or when they lose respectability. Like everybody has a social credit score, not only on on everything, not only like how generous you are. You have a social credit score. People know how generous you are. You have your ability to judge a product or service as good or bad. You have a score on that. How good are you at judging a service? If you're somebody who constantly backs and buys shitty services, and then you come out and say, "Oh, the new Nintendo Switch 2 is awesome," everybody has been seeing the way that you've been sucking Nintendo's dick. They're not going to take you seriously. So like, and what I'm saying is that this is like unregulated and yet regulated, just not by the government. When you say unregulated, you're talking about not government regulated, but that doesn't mean there's no regulation, because there's still governance. There's still people's value judgments for every little thing that people do, or everything that businesses do, or everything that brands do, or So I would say that cultural Marxism, or the idea of pitting the majority against the minority,
It's a form of social control and social engineering.
Could actually be a good thing, in the context of you don't think the government should be the one to do something about it. If everyone understood that
Direct action is like if everyone
yeah
directly acted. That's the thing. That boycottism doesn't work and is not effective because it's not actually direct action. And that's why when people were fighting for Palestine, they did the boycott, divest, and sanction Israel, because boycotting by itself wouldn't help if you just boycotted Israel. But the divest and sanction is even more furtherly egregious government actions. To divest meaning or that's companies is divest, and then sanction is the governments. So like basically. Boycotting is where I was going with that was is a
it's a form of voting.
Let me say this, which is boycotting and voting are replacements for direct action. Would you agree with that?
No, because boycotting is direct action.
No. I would say it's
voting for a representative is not acting. It's not direct action. It's delegating your responsibility. Versus boycotting, that's not delegating. That's you directly saying, "I'm not going to buy this."
But it's not a direct action. It's like a passive action.
But it's still a personal individual.
Would you call civil disobedience a direct action? Because I wouldn't.
Yeah, I would. Yeah. When you're talking about direct action,
and I'm talking about declining to do something versus, so basically like if you don't wear the mask in public or whatever.
That's direct action.
You call that direct action?
Because it's basically the action or non-action of an individual versus the action or non-action by a delegated entity that you don't that all you do is just vote and then you don't do anything about?
I'm gonna smoke a cigarette though.
Oh, okay. Wait. Before you do, can we just can we try to finish up this section and then we'll go for a break?
No,
Please.
Otherwise, I think you should just let me fucking go. In fact, I don't need your permission, and I wasn't asking. Sorry, that's what I should have said. I don't need your permission, and I wasn't asking. And no, I'm not gonna sit down and wait because I want a cigarette right now. So you gotta just accept the fact that I have to get. We've been going for more than an hour now, Jared. That's pretty long. Usually, real broadcasters have fucking 2-minute breaks every now and then. So don't get all pissy because I want to go take a 2-minute break. Okay? It's not the biggest thing in the world.
This is presented to you.
Okay.
This is a presentation for you. If you can't sit down for a show, you can't call yourself a professional. This is unprofessional.
You know what, Jared? You're not going to make me feel bad because I've done more than an hour with you
I'm just stating the truth.
I'm going to go smoke a cigarette, okay? You don't have to get pissy about it.
I hope you feel regret. Let's listen to some of this video, I guess, while we wait.
Welcome back, friends. Welcome back to the Corbett Report. James Corbett here, CorbettReport.com, coming to you in November of 2025 with an important conversation about a topic that is on everyone's minds these days, or at least should be. And it's almost getting impossible for me to even evade the daily stream of stories around this topic. Just the latest coming through the news wires as we record this. ReclaimTheNet.org. Russia moves to mandate state biometric ID for online age verification. Yes, today we're going to be talking about the specter of digital ID. And no matter what corner of the globe you happen to reside in, I guarantee you are, well, you should be thinking about it. And there are moves that your government is making along those lines. And if you want to know about those moves that are happening towards the implementation of digital ID, then you're going to want to get your hands on a pretty comprehensive report on this subject. It's called Life Under Digital ID, a Global Analysis with Solutions. And it is a handy-dandy PDF document that is a relatively tight 30 pages. You can read this, obviously, in one sitting. But it's got a lot of information, not only about what digital ID is and how it is being implemented, but specific case studies in country after country after country from every region of the globe that helps put this in perspective. And today we're going to be talking to the man behind this report. Of course, you will know Hakeem Anwar from our previous conversations on Solutions Watch. You will also hopefully know him from Above Phone at AbovePhone.com and the Above Tech Suite that he is offering there. But let's bring him on to this conversation. Hakeem, thank you very much for this report, and thanks for coming on to talk about it.
James, thanks for making it through the 30 pages. I didn't think anyone would do that.
If we can't read 30 pages, I think we're not going to take down the New World Order. So I'm happy to do my part on that regard. But let's start talking about this subject that I'm sure people have heard about it. They've cogitated on it before. But I want to start with a seemingly deceptively simple question that I think actually gets into the heart of this, because I think everyone thinks that they know what we mean when we're talking about digital ID. But maybe they don't. And your report does go into some depth about the definition of what it is we're talking about here. So can you tell us in your own words, what is digital ID?
Yeah, I thought this was really important because there's a lot of misconceptions about what it is. Some people think real ID is digital ID. And frankly, I couldn't come up with a definition until I had studied a bunch of different programs around the world. And the definition had to be flexible enough to include what Russia and China and India were doing and also what the EU is doing. So it really comes down to this. There's two characteristics of a digital ID program. The first is these verifiable digital credentials, which a credential you can think of as a claim about a subject, any sort of subject. And so verifiable means that you can confirm that they came from a particular source. And that would be a government or a regulatory body or anything that could create these IDs. And it's kind of agnostic of where this ID lives. It could live on your phone, but it could also live in the cloud or even an electronic ID card like they have in West Africa. So that's the first part, right? These verifiable digital credentials. The second part is functional interoperability. So this is about making this ID useful in many different use cases. So it's not just what you use at the driver's license office or when you're going to visit social services. It's not just what you show there, but it can also be used in a financial setting or in a social media setting. And so those are the two key characteristics of a digital ID program. And unfortunately, 90% of countries and their governments have or are working on a digital ID program. So there's not really a place to run.
Unfortunately not, and your report definitely brings that home. As I say, there's a global analysis with case study after case study in country after country that goes to make that point quite well. But let's drill down on that a little bit more, because I think, again, people tend to think of the digital ID, it is going to be something, a card or a wallet or an app or something that will be the single thing, and here it is, and we'll be able to say, no, we don't want that thing, as opposed to what I think is actually taking place, which is the creation of a much larger digital public infrastructure, as you write about in the report. And let's drill down on that example that I started out with today. Russia moves to mandate state biometric ID for online age verification. What does that actually mean? So I drill down on this report, and it says the main part of the proposal is the use of the Gosulugi Digital Services Portal, which already functions as Russia's main interface for state verification. This system connects directly to the United System of Identification and Authentication and the National Unified Biometric System, both of which are controlled by the government. State Duma Deputy Anton Nemkin, a former FSB officer, suggested that these networks, quote, could be used to verify age without directly transmitting passport data to third-party platforms. In effect, the state would become the universal intermediary between citizens and the internet. So this is a specific case in which the online age verification, which is obviously now familiar to people in the UK and increasingly familiar to people around the world, is going to be run through this government service, Gosulugi. Well, I looked up Gosulugi, and it turns out that Gosulugi is itself a public-private partnership between the Russian government, specifically the Ministry of Digital Development, Communications, and Mass Media, and something called Rostelecom, which when you drill down on Rostelecom, it turns out it's Russia's largest digital services provider, and it itself is a public-private partnership co-owned between the Russian government and these private corporations. So it starts to complicate this question of what is digital ID, as if it's this singular thing that you can put your finger on and it's all some government, when in fact it's part of this web of things that are being introduced in public-private partnerships. Can you speak to the broader web of things that we're talking about here when we talk about these digital identification services and how they're being used?
Yeah, so there can be many different components to a digital ID program, and Goslugi is a very good example because Russia doesn't have a digital ID wallet. That's, it's an app on your phone. They don't have that. They're very, very close. Their app is going to be called Max. But the back end for what they call, what is typically referred to as single sign-on, one account, sign on to many services, is this system called Goslugi. And so this is very, very interesting because Russia kind of piecemealed it together over time to get the foundational data for the system in place. So you might be asking, where did they get the biometrics from? Well, there was two different legislative acts. The first was implementing KYC. I think this was back in 2012. I want to say I may be getting that year wrong. But first they said to the banks, hey, you need to KYC your customers and collect biometrics. So the banks started to do it on their behalf. And it's very funny. It made me understand Russian culture, maybe Russian bureaucracy a little bit more. They expected banks to upload the biometric data to UBI, what do they call it? Universal Biometric, the database. and they expected banks to pay a licensing fee to do that and to pull from it. So the banks were too smart, and they were like, no, we're not going to pay your licensing fee. We're actually going to build our own biometric databases. So they had to go back. The Russian government had to say, hey, no, actually, you actually need to share that with us too, and the FSB has access to it. And that became the foundation for the biometric-backed digital ID. So it's interesting how, there can be these side channels to getting your biometric data tied with your legal identity. And that's the key problem here. As soon as you tie your biometric data in a setting with your legal identity, you have given them enough to create that digital ID on your behalf. There's nothing you need to do from that point onwards. They can just issue it for you. And this is the case in places like Italy, where they issued 40 million digital IDs. No, those people didn't have to go onto their phones and do anything. They just issued it because they had the prerequisite information. Same thing with Denmark. And so, going back to your original question, there are multiple different components. There is typically biometric verification services, which can be used by third parties to verify that you are a real person. There's a single sign-on, which can be used. It's typically used by government entities to sign you into different government websites with one account, but that can also be expanded to different groups. And then finally, there's the handy-dandy digital ID wallet, which is mainly meant for use in person, for things like travel or being in use place of your physical ID. So there's many different forms that it can really take.
You raise an interesting part about that whole Goslugi part of this story, is that the public-private partnership is an important part of this, because I think exactly like the CBDC idea, of course, central banks could just start directly issuing wallets to people and directly controlling it that way. But by doing so, they would cut out the commercial banking system entirely. And I think obviously they want the commercial bankers to be part of the system. So no, we'll do it in a way that we'll let commercial bankers operate the wallets as intermediaries or that sort of thing, to get the buy-in from that sector. In the same way, I think governments, could directly manage and control these biometric databases, but it's better when the banks and other services are buying into this, have a part to play in it, so that it weds it even more firmly into the digital public infrastructure that is being erected. And in your report, you make a distinction between digital ID and DPI, digital public infrastructure. Can you tell us what is digital public infrastructure, and what is this leading to?
Sure. So digital public infrastructure is an idea or concept coined by the United Nations Development Program, where they talk about this new public infrastructure that countries are going to need. It's all digital based, and there's three components to this, with digital ID being the first one that makes the second two possible. So it is the digital ID, which is the foundation for being able to authenticate or identify yourself on any country's digital public infrastructure. And then there are the central bank digital currencies, which are also an important, they're the financial aspect. You could also think of this as digital payments. They don't necessarily need to be central bank digital currencies. They can also be digital payments infrastructure. And the last part is the data exchange, which is to consolidate the data from the many different sectors of life a civilian might find themselves enrolled in, and to have them in one place. And a really good example of maybe not a mature, but like what this thing might actually look like, a full DPI system, would be how Brazil is doing it, where they have the B-Cadastros blockchain that they're using as the backing for their digital ID. Now, it doesn't mean that the biometrics are actually stored on the blockchain, but the unique identifier for people is being stored on the blockchain. And the B-Cadastros is also combining data from 6 different public agencies in the country into one place. So it's this data exchange, so that when you interact with these different pieces of DPI, they can all just update it into one place, and they're all clued in, which gives them a comprehensive look at everything you're doing. And it also means that it's a digital control grid, not a surveillance grid particularly, but the main purpose of this is to be a control grid. So if you step outside of the lines, or like the agency for finance, you have some sort of government loan that you defaulted on, well, now that has implications for everything else involved in the digital, the data exchange. So that's the main issue here with DPI. That's the scary part about it. Now, I will say,
it's like
I will say about this, there's, I'll kind of re-emphasize this again. I've had some people asking me,
Oh, wait, no,
well,
it's
where
actually
can I
this.
go? Can you label me the countries that don't have digital ID programs? And it doesn't look very good. By
Yeah,
the
that's
way,
it.
what you shared about Russia, that's news to me, right? It happened today, so this is moving so fast. Even the countries that I saw that weren't pursuing digital ID programs, in my kind of like, it's a wide definition. It could be even wider if you wanted. The countries that were too poor, for example,
But with a
they're not
swing.
pursuing digital IDs per se, but they're pursuing electronic biometric backed IDs, right? So they're also doing these things. And the only countries that aren't pursuing it at all are like, let's just say this wouldn't be a country that you would like retire in or get away in the winters to go relaxing. Like, you wouldn't feel at home there. So it is happening everywhere in one form or another.
And I think the important thing to keep in mind is that these countries absolutely would be instituting this if they had the infrastructure to be able to do it. And presumably when they get developed enough to be able to do it, they will, of course, do the exact same things. And just because a country isn't developed or advanced enough to be able to implement all of this digital public infrastructure certainly does not mean there's no corruption or problems in such a country. So I think that's an important point. But actually, it raises an even bigger point, because one of the leading countries in the world in terms of developing biometric identification database was India with its Aadhaar program. And one point that you make in this report that I think is important for people to understand is that, again, I think people are thinking it's going to be this singular thing that the government's going to try to push on you and you'll be able to say no in some grand gesture and that'll be it. But a point that you make in this document is that this is not a mandatory thing in most countries. This is something that's going to be voluntary in order to participate in certain services. So can you talk about the way that this is going to be implemented to kind of take the sails out of those people who believe there's going to be some big fight that will end this in some dramatic fashion?
Yeah, and so, so many Western countries, especially, they legislate their digital IDs as they have to be voluntary. They cannot be mandated. And India is no exception, where Supreme Court's ruled that no one should have to suffer simply because they weren't using digital ID. Kim Cameron, who came up with the idea of digital identity, had that as one of the principles in his laws of identity, which this was an idea that he released in 2004. So this is something it's an idea that's been developing over a very long period of time. But if you read his initial paper, you'll see the same messaging repeated over and over, is that people should be in control of their identity and what information they want to share, right? So it kind of makes it feel like it's voluntary. But what ends up happening in practice is that when these things get a network effect and they start to be used by more people, more places, more things, then it starts to become difficult to not request it. And in India's case, they have gone so far as to, and again, this is under Supreme Court ruling of India, that no one should be punished, and companies can get fined for doing this, but yet still banks will request your Aadhaar, right, which is the digital ID number or system in India. They'll request it. There was a pretty controversial thing where phone companies would harass their customers, asking them for their Aadhaar when it was being rolled out, and they threatened to disconnect the phone. It's very hard to resist a thing like that. You really have to sit in your own authority and kind of push away these people who are asking for it. But unfortunately with India, it's one of the only cases I know where they have gone so far that even regular everyday people are imposing the digital ID onto each other. So when you're looking for housing in India, the landlord might ask, okay, what's your Aadhaar? Now, I don't know. I did try and translate some of India's digital ID system. I think there's like a bit of a report you can look up with someone's Aadhaar. There's probably third-party agencies that can look up information on this person, but I think it's for a background check reason. But still, that goes to show that when people start enforcing it on one another, that's the final stage of what I call this is mandated by proxy. So it's not technically mandated by the government, just like the COVID-19 vaccine wasn't technically mandated, but dang it, your life got hard because everyone else involved by proxy would mandate it on you. So you don't need the government to go in and strong arm these things.
Well, actually, an update on the India situation. I understand for the latest tax theft filing season there in India, an Aadhaar number is now required for income tax return. So there you go. I guess if you don't have any income, then it's not mandatory. But if you plan to make money and not be a criminal, then you're going to have to sign up to their system. Well, anyway, there's over 1 billion people on that system, and there have been data leaks from it over the past several years, as I've documented before. So it's just a sign of the things to come. And obviously, there are the concerns that one would, that everyone presumably would have about these types of things. For example, the security of these databases, and who is really securing this data, and what will happen if and when inevitably this data gets out and gets leaked and your biometric details are now on the criminal black market, etc. But I think even beyond that, there's the more fundamental questions. Again, not just about the surveillance grid and knowing what people are doing and when they're doing it, etc., but the control grid and being able to actively stop people from participating, for example, in financial services or other such things because of whatever, their political beliefs, or because they posted a meme on Facebook that the British government didn't like, or what have you. Obviously, again, such a vast and complicated problem with so many different moving parts and so many different pieces to this puzzle, which makes the question that's embedded in the title of this, a global analysis with solutions. It does beg the question, well, what kind of solutions can be had to something so vast, so overwhelming, so complex, that involves not just the government, but also the private sector, and involves all of these voluntary sorts of pieces of the digital public infrastructure? What can people possibly start doing to arm themselves against this?
Yeah, and some of what I'm going to say is going to sound a bit obvious, but the farther you can move yourself away from the digital ID infrastructure, the offices that are using it, which is going to be better for you. So to give you an example of this, I was recently in the EU because I wanted to ask Europeans what they thought about digital ID, and I managed to escape a day or two before the entry-exit biometric requirements that they just imposed. And what I got a sense of was, Europe is this heterogeneous place where there are the major airports that have already implemented these systems like way ahead of time. But then there are also places like Romania, which are they're not very technologically advanced, and it's going to take time for these things to happen. And so the key takeaway there is that it really is a shift in where you want to put your energy, whether that be moving with your feet. It also means to be self-sufficient in every way right now. And I also think that this digital ID ultimately is amazing for humanity. Now, because you're going to stick with me here on this point, but this is kind of like being Hernan Cortez's conquistadors in 1519, where Hernan Cortez was like, okay, you're going to take down the Aztec Empire, and I'm burning the boats you could have used to get back to the homeland, right? We're there because it's happening everywhere. There's no boats. The off-ramps to use everything we count on in life those walls are being put up. So we have no choice but to create solutions. And frankly, you watching this at home, you have just the right to say how we're going to function on this planet or where this planet goes, just as anyone else. So it's up to us to create solutions. And I think what that is going to be for a lot of people is entrepreneurship based on free and voluntary exchange. I think it's going to be, people need to be useful again, right? We can't have these inflated metrics of knowledge work where we're just doing things online all the time. We're going to have to really take our effort and attention. Instead of watching the news, we're going to have to start building things. So I think the most useful thing anyone can do right now to get prepared is to go talk about this in person. Maybe at their local farmers market is a really good place. Maybe in the spiritual centers around town, anyone who's maybe just a little bit quirky or thinking alternatively, to go talk about them, to talk to this about them, because just in the way that there's being this network effect that is going to cut you out, you also have to create your own network that will keep you in. So this conversation might go something like, hey, did you know about digital ID? It's this, and this. You can maybe learn some talking points from the report. One thing that'll work really well is say, hey, did you know your digital identity could get stolen and someone could impersonate you really, really easily? Let's say if you use a digital ID to buy liquor or something, it's really easy. There are no safeguards at this point in time. That's something that's very common. And so once you share with them enough, and if they're open-minded, you might say, hey, I really appreciate this relationship we have between us. I hope that we will never put a wall in between us where you might force me to get a digital ID. Let's say you're talking to a farmer, to buy your eggs, to buy anything you have, and I'll do the same for you. So it's kind of like this contract that you make with each other. And so I think having this valuable local network is the best pool of data you can have for yourself right now. Also, as you have covered, James, several times in your Solutions Watch, is to start working with alternative commerce. So for some people, this might mean cryptocurrency, which I don't recommend putting everything you have into it, but I recommend at least being literate with cryptocurrency and maybe doing your first transaction in person, because this still appears to be one way you can completely circumvent digital ID. And of course, cash, bartering, precious metals, these are all things that are going to be fairly obvious. So to go back on it, I do think that this is great, right? But going back to the conquistador analogy, we're not here to, the boats have been burned, but we're not here to conquer and kill. We're here to create better systems. I can't say I have all the answers, right? This is just really getting started, but we're here to cooperate, remediate, and grow. And you're here to figure out the answers too, right? There's no authority we can turn to. We can't turn to the World Bank and to our governments and say, hey, you guys have more authority than we do. No, we all have this inner authority. And if it's the choice of figuring these solutions out or being a slave, I say we figure the solutions out.
Well, that's it. And, the conquistador analogy is apt, even if I don't like to think of myself as a conquistador, but I understand the analogy because, yes, the boats have been burned. You might think, oh, this counter economy stuff, oh my God, agorism, oh, it's silly, I don't want to participate in that. Okay, but there is no alternative. There is truly nothing else. Either we create communities that we can operate in without this digital public infrastructure that they're trying to bring in, or we are part of the DPI system and we're just going to go along straight into the maws of the control grid. There is no alternative at this point. So, like it or not, anyway, agorism is the only answer. And that operates, I think, both in real life and can be digital as well. As you say, cryptocurrency, sure. Precious metals, sure. Cash, barter, let system, whatever. There's many, many, many different ways we can interact with each other that has nothing to do with the economy that they are imposing on us.
Absolutely. And I did want to point out that how fragile this control grid really is when you start to kind of look under the covers a little bit. I was flying recently. I did taken 2 flights in the past few weeks here in the US. There's a government shutdown here. And to feel the aura coming from the TSA agents, they're not getting paid right now. They're getting deferred payments. And I managed to talk to 1 or 2 of them. And so everyone is calling in sick. There are massive slowdowns at airports. They're running on a skeleton crew. So what does that tell you? It's this control grid is super, super fragile, and it doesn't take much to actually build something better. So again, I invite everyone watching this to be creative, right? How can you spread the word on this? What's something that you can do in your hometown? And also to understand technology's relevance in pushing out this control grid, and to hopefully align yourself with technology that is completely disconnected from it.
This is a point I continuously stress in the Solutions Watch series. Everyone has their own skills, their own resources, their own abilities, and they can apply that to these subjects in the way that best occurs to them. You are obviously technologically gifted. This is why you have AbovePhone.com. You have the Above Phone whole suite of technology. And of course, you're also at Take Back Our Tech, which is an important part of all of this. Tell us about what technologically inclined people can and should be doing to grow the open source agora for an alternative digital infrastructure that will not be dependent on they, them, those, allowing us to participate in such a system.
Yeah, so we all know about Apple Wallet and Google Wallet, and how these things are already accepted as forms of IDs in the U.S. There's even rumors in the UK that people had a digital ID automatically installed. I think those are just rumors; those haven't been verified. But I know for a fact, because I've researched what Google and Apple can do, they most definitely have the power to install things without your knowledge or your consent. So at a particular point in time, maybe when these governments get desperate enough, not enough people are downloading digital ID, they might turn to things like that. So that in that case, if you're using a pre-hacked phone, a big tech phone that is pre-hacked, meaning that people can do things without your knowledge, you might end up on the system. And God forbid you have something like Face ID, or it's collecting voice prints, or it's collecting other forms of biometric data, because if they get desperate enough, they could all absolutely include that in their system. So what I recommend for people right now is to use alternative operating systems. There's operating systems like Graphene OS. There's also a few others that I recommend. And you should just start getting used to and practicing with these apps. There's also open source apps that you can use. I recently released a webinar that goes into the detail. It kind of gives you a high level overview of what life is like on an above phone, which is our version of a Graphene OS de-Googled phone, or what life is like on a Linux laptop. And it turns out you can still do the vast majority of what you were used to doing, but you're doing it more privately without tracking. And as more amazing builders and creators come out with solutions like peer-to-peer Monero Marketplace, which there are things that I've recommended in the past on the T-Bot show, that you will be literate enough to start using them right away. James, thank you so much for letting me share this. And for those of you watching, if you feel like this is the right time to free your tech from these slavery systems, maybe check out our Black Friday sale, which is at abovephone.com/Black Friday. You'll see that I have a link to the webinar where I kind of go over this. And so you can sign up for that. And then we have deals running through all of November. And we would be so honored if we could be part of your journey in that.
Excellent. Well, as I said at the top, if people can't even read a 30-page report, then there's absolutely no chance that we're going to overturn the New World Order. So I would suggest people actually take the time to read this Life Under Digital ID, a global analysis with solutions. It is at abovephone.com/digital-ID. That link will be in the show notes in case you need it. And are there any other resources that you'd like to direct people to along these lines?
Yes, so there's also, for those of you using big tech phones, there's another ebook in there. It's called 5 Must Change Privacy Settings. So if you are using a big tech phone, this would be a good time to remove your biometrics from it. I'm not sure if that's actually going to do anything because they might be stored in the back end. But this guide has some, it's got some good guidelines for you to explore your big tech phone and make sure it's minimizing the spying there. So that's there. Also, please check out my show on Substack. That's the T-Bot Show, tbot.substack.com. I have an amazing interview with James where kind of got to see the man behind the knowledge. So you can also check that out on our Substack. And I do a weekly show every week where we cover different stories like this. But obviously, I got to step it up because there's more digital ID stories. So, yeah, that'd be great.
Every single day. I cannot even avoid them at this point, even if I tried. But yes, I will absolutely say I get a lot of interesting stories and news leads from TBOT, to Take Back Our Tech. So thank you for doing that work. Thank you for putting this report together. I hope it will be valuable to people, because if you're not thinking about this subject, then I don't know what you are doing, because this one seems like it's...
I'm a little stoned, I'm trying to play it cool.
Hey guys, it's Sharper Max, and today I am very excited
I don't think they know, but of course there are clues. Plus I didn't mean to. Waves are worried, washing over me. It is dark, I still have some glasses on. Stoned,
is she makes sure that they have proper pain medication, if they're obese, someone does surgery. She's extremely important with rats because they have a bit of a reputation of being animals that will self-mutilate.
How's it going, everyone? Welcome back. We're doing the second part of the show now, I guess, since no more smoke breaks. I'm just kidding. Just kidding, Sam.
No, you're not.
I know you're right. I'm not smoking.
That's for you.
I'm not.
Don't knock it over. Don't make me regret bringing that over here.
Okay. I won't. Yeah. You're right. Okay. So hopefully that video and our explanations gave you a somewhat overview on how the digital ID is going to be rolled out and who is going to be rolling it out. It's going to be private partnerships with government all across the board, and it's not going to be one specific thing. It's going to come from all different directions, and it's going to be like it's going to get in the way of your point of access to the most essential parts of life.
Mm-hmm.
So watch out for that and reject it. And
are we moving on from that topic?
Well, I
just wanted to mention something about the digital ID system.
Yeah, what?
Here we go. Alright. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon, and he exerciseth all the power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed.
Oh my God.
And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword, and did live. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in the right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let the man that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. Alright, that's it. That's literally what the digital ID is, just the infrastructure of the beast system that's being rolled out, implemented, groundwork laid, whatever you want to call it, but it's all like putting together the pieces for a totalizing system of commerce and government. I mean, it's pretty crazy that somebody writing in the 1st century would conceive of a talking image that had the ability to enforce all economic transactions. Isn't that kind of interesting? Doesn't that kind of sound like something?
Yeah.
A talking image? Alright, anyway.
Oh, a talking image, yeah, like a video.
Yeah. Or an AI, like... Okay, the image of the beast, yeah. Okay.
Maybe they were talking about a dream. Dream he had.
Oh, really? You think
a talking image in his head. I'm just kidding. I mean, maybe.
Sounds like today, though. Everything about it sounds like today. Alright, go ahead, Jared.
So, I wanted to cover rhetoric and aesthetic versus essence, and the importance of hatred when valuing what's a good, and also alternative governance services examples, and going into details of what I'm talking about there. But first, Sam recently caught up and watched my previous first episode of the appreciation economy video and took some notes down, and I'm really curious to hear what his notated response to it is, if he has any criticisms, and to just hear his response to the concept of the appreciation economy. So we're gonna give the floor to him so that he can present this.
All right. Well, I hope this doesn't take too long. Maybe it won't take that long at all. But at we're talking about the part 1, appreciation economy part 1. At 12 minutes 45 seconds, you say that you kind of define the appreciation economy as a mechanism of reality in which you can create your environment socially, which is really cool. That's like, that is definitely a part of reality. Now, I had just some things to say about it. All right, so here we go. The question is, why the appreciation economy, that idea of going on, you further described it as not just, okay, so you started out defining it as the mechanism of reality in which you can create your environment socially. And you further went on to define it in detail, saying that it involves appreciating in the sense of judging something rightly. So, discerning its objective, true value, and then if it's good, loving it, or gratitude, having gratitude for it, and if it's bad, hating it or having wrath for it, based on the verdict of your judgment. So it's a process of judging and acting on the judgment,
Or not acting.
And you talk about how this, on a widespread level, culminates in natural hierarchies. Now, my question is, why cannot this healthy sort of process, why cannot the appreciation economy actually become mainstream and ubiquitous and widespread, and the dominant sort of mode of being? So my answer to that question is, the reason it can't endure, in this environment, in these conditions, except as either proposals at best, or in the version of it that's called the invisible hand, a secular religious fiction. And that's like the worst version of it, because it's like enforced. It's sort of like thought crime enforced. You have to sort of subscribe to fake, fictions, and one of them, I think, is, in the mainstream, you do have to laud and praise the free market and laissez-faire, and capitalism as having the invisible hand. If you're not, and the other direction you can go is being a leftist, communist, or whatever. But those are the two false, what is it? Yeah,
The false takeaways?
the two false position. What is it, like when false dichotomy? Those are the two positions of this false dichotomy that we're in this environment. You can either basically say that the free market is the appreciation economy, or you can say the free market is like just pure evil and results in bourgeois, like elite control of the means of production, etc.
Even though it has even though the free market economy by itself has nothing to do with government.
Okay, here's why those proposals, or those economies cannot actually endure and thrive in this condition. As a Christian, this is my answer. It has to do with Satan currently possessing a totalizing command of every world system, every sector, every field, every domain. Watchman Nee calls it Satan's masterpiece, and it's the current state of the world under the rule of darkness, which is the result of the fall, and will conclude when the return of Christ. He'll bind Satan, and the millennial reign will be literally the condition that you're talking about. It will be the time on this earth when the appreciation economy is in full effect. And right now, it can only be like it can only pop up in pockets and then get snuffed out.
You don't think it's already in effect all the time?
Do you see it?
Yeah. When you value, or when you make a value judgment of anybody else's value judgment.
How do you explain the iniquity in the world?
You're saying iniquity. What are you talking about? Like inequality?
No, not inequality. The iniquity is just injustice.
It's people reaping the consequences of their choices.
But what about you being victimized by like the state and stuff? They take your money and taxes and stuff, like all this shit and then they use it.
I'm victimized a lot less because I don't participate as much. Sorry, go ahead.
No worries. Okay, so moving on.
Wait. Are you making like the argument that like because there's like like the whole God argument, like if God is real, then why is there so much injustice in the world? Are you trying to say like
no?
If the appreciation economy is real?
No.
Okay.
I'm saying that according to the Bible, human affairs and human conditions, human government, and human history will only get progressively more negative and wicked until the return of Christ. Now, a lot of this I'm inspired by Peter Ruckman. There's a reference for you. But he talks about this a lot. He says, that every politician and every political party and every world leader will say that basically the utopia that everyone's been promised is just temporarily deferred. It's right around the corner,
What is?
The utopia of what everyone's promised under Marxism, of the workers' paradise, or under capitalism, the I guess the fucking Norman Rockwell 50s forever.
You're saying that either capitalism or communism is going to come to a head and eventually be successful?
No. I'm saying that. Wait. Let me remember what I was saying. So I believe the Bible. According to the Bible, things are going to get progressively darker and more wicked. As Satan puts together and hones and crafts over the course of centuries his masterpiece, which is the world system, and it will culminate in the beast system and the revealing of the Antichrist, and at that point, it will be exactly like what it said in Revelation 13, which is the passage I just read, and it involves something that is exactly what's described by the. It describes the digital ID, and it describes the idea of digital currency, and it describes the idea of AI, and it describes the idea of this high-tech infrastructure, and it goes down to the heart of it, which is what the thing I'm interested in, which is techne. You should look that up.
Techne?
Techne. It's a Greek word.
Like that?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So, yeah. What's the point you're making about this? Yeah, the heart is technology.
My point is that that Satan has a really intimate relationship with technology, and
as if technology is only evil, or what?
No. But when it comes to double-edged swords, some of them are so double-edged that you would rather throw them away or something.
Throw away all technology and go back to the woods.
Luddite. That's what that position is called, is Luddism. Yeah.
It's absurd. technology is so helpful, and it pushes society forward,
Okay,
and
but
it gives us the tools to be able to explore other avenues than just doing basic grunt work.
for sure. Anyway, so responding specifically to the video,
The appreciation economy concept,
oh
or to the,
yeah.
or to the
I was
James Corbett video.
Yeah, but it kind of relates to both. But okay, so I got through that. I was saying the millennial reign of Christ will be when the appreciation economy will actually be in full effect, but it's totally throttled now at best. It's like snuffed out normally.
I would say it's already in full effect, but
You're talking about karma.
but I'm talking about the, like, if people were aware of it, they could exploit it and take advantage of it and direct it more efficiently than it's being directed right now, because people aren't aware of it.
Okay, what else did I write? Oh yeah, Jared. So like, okay, shadow work. You talked about shadow work, and I think the importance of shadow work being, you kind of talk about this, how it equips you with the tools to do things like, for instance, like have wrath and like not be encumbered by a sense of like undue sense of shame or something about it, because like a lot of people will never like
Appreciate their anger or
appreciate
their
their
hatred.
anger because they think it's wrong to be angry, but the Bible says be angry and sin not, and also
To hate what is evil.
yeah, and it says don't be angry against your brother without just cause, but the modern versions take out without just cause. So the modern Bibles have Jesus telling you not to be angry with your brother, and that's not what Jesus said. Jesus said don't be angry with your brother without a just cause, and so like that's the truth, and
Which means there is a reason.
there
to
is
be
a reason
angry.
to be angry sometimes, and you should use your wrath sometimes. Jesus really tore stuff up in the temple on 2 occasions that are recorded in the New Testament. You know, so listen, that's how he started and ended his public ministry, is tearing stuff up in the temple, like enraged at what they were doing. Okay, so check it out. What was I saying? Oh yeah. Okay. Shadow work. It equips you with the ability to engage with your anger in a way that where you don't feel,
Specifically, your hate.
you don't feel kowtowed by your sense of shame about it, because you realize there's sometimes it's not in itself bad to be angry. You have to investigate
Or to
and
hate.
decide and judge whether or not there's a good, you're angry for the right reason. And I think as a Christian that involves going to God and listening to the Holy Spirit. Anyway, so and reading the Bible, you can't hear the Holy Spirit unless you read the Bible, the King James version. But so going on, Jared, that's my response about oh yeah. Okay. Now, Jared. Shadow work, when it becomes a political philosophy, or you don't like the term political, but when it becomes a politics, a philosophy about states and about politics and stuff, it takes on a really sharp character, and a couple examples come to mind. The first one is Machiavellianism, which is totally like somebody who did shadow work and was like, all right, well, I'm gonna, Machiavelli. Personality trait. It's not just a personality trait. It's also that's a bad summary. They're talking about the psychological trait, which is named after Machiavelli, but there's a political type in after politics.
Manipulativeness, deceitfulness, and cynical view on others, and a focus on self-interest.
Yeah, and basically, people who demonize anger and wrath in its entirety, like carte blanche or whatever, they'll call any form of using your anger or wrath, that Machiavellian sort of tactics where the ends justify the means in your warped and evil and wicked and aggressive and violent.
Like as if hate equals right.
Well, according to the people who disavow anger, hatred itself is wrong. Unless that you're hating someone who is hateful. You can hate someone who's hateful in your mind. That's the only time you can hate someone.
They have so much hate for
Yeah.
people who are hateful.
Yeah. Yeah. Machiavellianism is widely defined as the political philosophy of the Italian Renaissance diplomat Niccolo Machiavelli, usually associated with realism in foreign and domestic politics. Yeah, realism. And with the view that those who lead governments must prioritize the stability of the regime over ethical concerns. Now, think about it in terms of an individual. And I know I said I didn't like psychologizing it, but I don't like how they psychologize it. But let's psychologize it together here. Thinking about instead of a regime, instead of a political regime, think of it as like the self, like the sovereign self. Like a conscious person. Sort of. That's how I sometimes think about this kind of stuff.
Okay, so let me reread this, but from that perspective, is widely defined as So Machiavellianism is widely defined as the political philosophy of the Italian Renaissance diplomat Niccolo Machiavelli, usually associated with realism in foreign and domestic politics, and with the view that those who lead the self, instead of governments, must prioritize
those who lead themselves.
Those who lead themselves must prioritize the stability of the self, not the regime, over ethical concerns. So,
Pause.
so self-interest.
Pause.
So self-interest over morality.
Yeah, I disagree with that, but I think that I think when the reason the appreciation economy doesn't work in these conditions today is because self-interest is made so important to us because of the conditions of the fall. God cursed the earth for our sake, on our behalf, or whatever, and that includes making just the conditions of survival arduous. Even today, when it's modern, it's hard, and what I'm trying to say is that self-interest is
We're too evil to be guided by self-interest.
No, not necessarily. More like I think it's more like this. There's a natural selection in this world that the people who are not self-interested and Machiavellian go away.
Well, wouldn't you say Machiavellianism is the self,
Putting self-interest first.
Or what it sounds like what they're saying is what they're really saying though is putting the government interest first.
But he's talking from the point of view of the prince who's in charge of it. So you can think of it in terms. Also, you can think of it as an allegory. If you can think of yourself, your inner man, your soul, as a sovereign kingdom that you're the king of.
Yeah.
Right. You could apply different political structures to that as the sovereign.
To govern the self.
Yourself.
Yeah. So what's wrong with governing by self-interest?
I'm just pointing out that you can apply that way. And so self-interest is important, but I think when you find Christ, you find out that self-interest actually
is evil.
Self-interest leads you to God because you want to be saved. You don't want to go to hell. But when you find God, when you meet God, when you meet Jesus and you get to know Jesus, what you find out is that it's so sweet to be able to lay yourself down for other people. Maybe that is a form of self-interest or whatever. People have said that. you're
Because
just
of-
doing it because it makes you feel good. But
or I'm just doing it because it'll get appreciation from other people,
Right.
which will
That's cynical.
elevate me over
But
others in
that's
the marketplace.
cynical. That's cynical, and it's Satan's oldest trick.
I mean, but it's
he says that to you all the time. He says your motives are not pure, like basically all the time.
but regardless of the motives, if you still produce a good product with that motivation in mind, it still benefits others. With that interest in mind, you create a good product or service, and people benefit from it.
You
Purely from that self-interested, you could say capitalistic perspective, profit interest perspective, and yet a good product or service still benefits
Yeah.
other people.
Right. Anyway, so I got through that part. Now let me just really quickly address the Jeff Corbett.
Oh, James Corbett
Video. His guest near the end recommended speaking to people about this issue of digital ID to your coworkers and your family and your friends and sparking a dialogue, etc. And as I listened to it, I felt demoralized. And I think everyone who listens to somebody encouraging them to do that feels a little bit demoralized in that moment, because it's just like, oh, that's not gonna fucking work. Are you kidding me? Oh yeah, talk to my friends and family about digital ID. That'll help. Okay, right? Like, it's almost like I almost resent it when people start talking like, yeah, well, people should really start, because it's like
It's the truth.
it's true, but their tone is like isn't serious enough. They're not also saying, by the way, if that's all you're doing, it's not going to do shit. Like, but okay. Anyway, here's what else you should do, and it won't work. In fact, talking directly. This gets into my point here that I wrote down. Talking directly about the subject with somebody at work when it comes to something that's a subject that has been what is it called, maligned or discredited or who's, so for instance, making a subject, if you even talk about it, like conditioning people to view you as a conspiracy theorist. You know what I'm talking about? If you mention something like Wuhan or something, people are just like, oh, what? Oh, this person he's talking about.
He's probably a flat earther.
It's normie. It's like normies have this conditioning where words and subjects, they're called generative themes, by the way. That's like the new literacy we should talk about. But they're conditioned to be triggered by words and concepts and themes that their media conditions them for specific reactions. For instance, chemtrails. Oh, come on.
Yeah, no, for real.
Fluoride.
It's good for your teeth.
Etc. Vaccines. Come on. Do you like children dying? Really? Like, okay, so they don't even want to talk about it. They just want to insult you. They don't want to talk about it. If they wanted to talk about it, they would let you make your points, and they would say, that's a fair point. I don't agree with that. It's, but they don't do that. They insult you, and that's the extent of their whole argument, is insulting you. But okay, what I was going to say is that's why you shouldn't actually talk about things. You shouldn't walk up to your coworker and say, hey, do you know about chemtrails? Let me tell you about chemtrails, because they're gonna scoff at you and make this smarmy liberal smirk, and so that's why sparking dialogue doesn't work. But
In a right context.
yeah, but let's
In the
say
right
you're at work.
context, it does.
Okay, and with somebody maybe who's like you can open up to, yeah.
Or a teacher, like in a teaching moment.
Okay, I'm just gonna read it. Here you go. Quote unquote, sparking a dialogue about the traumatizingly wicked government program never works, because people hate thinking about A, the reality of Satan being the current prince of this world, and B, their personal powerlessness and impotent subjection and bondage to that world system. That's why they hate thinking about chemtrails. They're like, oh, I don't want to think about being sprayed like a bug. And so that's ridiculous. I'm not going to believe it. I don't want to believe that the government would put a neurotoxin in the water supply. That's ridiculous. So I won't believe it. That's so hateful to even suggest that could be the case, because they resist the reality that Satan is the current prince of the world. And also
hatred is unpopular.
They hate their personal powerlessness and impotent subjection and bondage to that system. Martin Luther emphasized this truth of Satan's temporal reign, believing it essential for being saved that we recognize our inferiority of power and craftiness compared to the devil, and thus, being utterly convinced of this, we give up trying to fight for ourselves, directly for ourselves. Instead, we call on Christ, and Christ fights for us. And Christ will defeat the devil in the last day with one little word.
Or the government, some kind of savior that you don't have to do anything. You just have to vote or delegate your responsibility to somebody else, and they'll do it for you, because they're much better prepared and intellectually capable of battling the devil, apparently, right?
Yeah. So Martin Luther was such a firebrand because he recognized that people hate talking about the machinations of entrenched, wicked, evil world systems. They hate talking about it, for the reasons listed. And he did it anyway, and he had to be rhetorically entertaining and, persuasive. He's a genius when it comes to that. So
who is
Martin Luther?
Oh, okay.
Okay, not Martin Luther King, by the way.
Yeah, I know, Martin.
Okay.
That's funny. Everybody would probably think that.
Today, people, just like back then, but maybe more so today, people cannot tolerate a frank and honest inquiry. Questioning why we need smart showers will get you fired for hate speech.
Or anti-Semitism for some reason.
Right. Yeah. Therefore, it is important to very carefully avoid saying bad thing. And if you want to say bad thing, or, anything at all that's bad thing, you must propagandize instead of communicate in this environment, in this exact specific context of this world that we're in.
You must what?
Propagandize instead of communicate when you want to say something that's bad thing according to other people. And
propagandize meaning promote or publicize a particular cause, organization or view, especially in a biased or misleading way.
Yes, biased, but not necessarily misleading. I think there's such a thing as propaganda that's propagandizing the truth.
Can you propagandize the truth?
I think that essentially anything where somebody is arguing, or marketing or promoting anything, you could call that propaganda. It's a matter of opinion whether or not that counts as propaganda. But when it's effective, it can surely be called propaganda. And anyway, so I'm saying normally you shouldn't have to propagandize, but when you live in such a repressive woke society, you do if you want to actually change things, want to speak out against things, but you want to keep your job, I found you have to be Machiavellian by propagandizing. And the way you do that is by talking about feelings rather than facts, and talking about big emotions and cathartic things rather than news items. How do you do that? How do you, because it's what, you're going to talk about Marvel movies or something like that? It's yeah, you could talk about Marvel movies, but you could talk about Thanos, for example, and you could talk about what he represents to somebody. And you could end up having this deep discussion with somebody who's yo, I watch every Marvel movie, bro. like at work, you know.
Yeah.
And then you have this deep discussion about him because you start talking about how fucking Kino Thanos is when he snaps or whatever.
Yeah, so you're saying it's considered propaganda to approach a subject matter
directly.
From indirectly.
Indirectly, yes. Indirectly, yeah. Yep.
Come at it from the side, from a subject that people would least suspect.
Yep. Even if it's true and informative, it's still propaganda if you're doing it with this Trojan horse type of like.
So did you know that Thanos, like he could have just.
I don't know what point you could.
He could have
just. I was just pulling that out.
He could have just snapped for there to be enough resources and food for the whole population, instead of having to kill half the population.
Bro, I've never thought about that. Not 'cause like we're talking like fucking not just Earth, man. There's like millions of planets.
I could probably think of like a couple of funny examples. I really thought about it.
Get people thinking. Yeah. But okay, so like using aesthetics is essentially what we're talking about. Using aesthetics in the sense of, okay, you want
using rhetoric.
You want aesthetics as well. Let me give you an example. You want someone to actually like.
I thought aesthetics was a purely visual thing, and rhetoric is more of like a meta.
Using aesthetics rhetorically. Let me give you an example. Is like you want someone to feel the point you're making about remembering who you are, in the sense that like your ancestors did great things. So you like show them a picture of a lion, and then you you make a meme, and it just says the text is like remember who you are or something like that. It like so like that's rhetorically effective because it's using aesthetics to do it, right? So that's called like Kino, Kino. You should look that up.
The Soviet rock band.
Internet slang for something grand or cinematic. That's the definition I was thinking of.
Okay.
Here, type in Kino pictures.
Oh, it's like cinematic. It's like
not necessarily. I would say it just has to be something that it could be cinematic, but the fact is cinematic is trying to be Kino, which is something that like makes you go
grand or
cinematic. Grand is the best. Grand is a good word for it. It's something that makes you go damn, and like like it affects you. It's a picture that changes you after you've looked at it. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
That's Kino.
That's an adjective that means affects you on a deeper level.
It's like a really potent meme, basically.
I guess what was the other word you wanted to look up?
So there's Kino, and the other one was I don't remember. But anyway, I was just kind of tentatively making a case that it's like when you get fired for just saying your mind and you're supposed to be living in a free speech society, like you do have to like fight back in some way. If you feel called to fight back, you know, one of the ways to do it is like I'm still gonna voice myself. I'm still gonna make myself heard and known, even though they want to punish me for doing that. But I'm gonna do it in a way where they can't punish me for it. I'm not technically breaking the rules. Do you understand what I'm saying? Being a rule lord, but and it's like propaganda. You know, it's sort of like that. It's like advertising is inherently predatory because it's literally designed to say what's the line and how can we cross it. You know, it's invasive. But what I'm trying to say is
Yeah, sales. Sell it to somebody using sales rhetoric.
Yeah, selling something. People are bought and sold ideas all the time. They really are. And
So you can't just talk about
it
these
has
ideas.
real effects.
You have to
sell
it.
It has real effects. You see it in what people become when they believe something for a decade that's not true. You know what I'm saying, Jared?
Yeah. So you have to be kino about the way that you introduce this subject matter. You can't
because it gets people's attention. It's a form of advertising. That's what kino is. It's like a form of advertising, propaganda, and these are all communication tactics and strategies. Yeah.
like, oh my God, there's a spider! Yo, spray that spider like chemtrails.
Yeah.
Like that would work. Wait, what? Chemtrails? Oh, I believe it now.
So the question I posed to you, Jared, is: do you think there's an ethical and moral use of these exploitative moral communication tactics, or do you think that it's all bad to do things like that consciously?
I think rhetoric and aesthetic has its place. That's actually the next part, the next section we were
All right, I'm
into.
good. I read everything I wanted to read.
Okay, so just to summarize, you think that the appreciation economy, the points that you made seem to be that like you don't think that people can be trusted to determine because of their sinful nature, determine their self-interest that wouldn't harm others.
And also because Satan is the prince of this current world as it is.
Okay, yeah. So Christian ideology.
There you go. There's your little dose of the Bible. But yeah.
Okay, I'm not a Christian, so I disagree.
It's my critique.
I disagree, but I'm saying like that. I seem to have like kind of addressed that problem with my response that having a motivation that's not the best motivation still doesn't affect the overall product or service that's good and benefits others if you're trying to be successful in your endeavor to profit. So like the profit incentive, it means that you have to be effective in order to gain profit. And effectiveness does not have to equal good motives or good pure intentions.
Say that last part one more time.
You don't have to have good motives or intentions to produce a good product. You just have to be efficient in creating a good product to profit.
Yeah, but Jesus said you'll know them by their fruit, and there's something about that where you might on occasion, like be evil but do something good as a fluke. But
no, not as a fluke, as a you want to profit.
Okay.
It's not going to be effective in profit unless it's good.
Yeah.
So
you're
like
saying you can just rationally determine what's good, and then even if you don't. Oh,
yes.
Okay. What's up, Josiah?
That was one of the points I made in my first video. Was that like even if you're like, I just want to do this to get a good appreciation or good advertising or to make profit off of it. I don't give a fuck about providing a good product.
No.
I do care about being efficient in getting profit.
I don't think you can rationally determine what's good. I think that what's good, you can only come to that knowledge through a relationship with God, because it's His character.
But
what's good is God's character.
yet reality shows us that you don't need to in order to produce a good product or service. You don't need to have necessarily a good motivation, good intention, or a good relationship with God.
That's a disagreement. It's our.
But I mean, you can.
Is the origin of good, or what good originates from?
Do you think the people at Windows who create, or the people at Microsoft
who
created Windows
good is about the service? You think good is about something
had the best intentions for people? I gotta use the restroom real quick, but I'm just saying it's a legitimate counter argument.
Okay, here's my counter to that: is do you think computers have been a net positive?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. I don't even know. I'm agnostic on that one.
Do you think you could?
Are we ending?
No, we're not ending. I gotta use the restroom real quick before we move on to the next section.
Alrighty.
Just do something. Do something for like a minute.
All right. Let's see. Have you guys heard the one about the what was it? Josiah, the quartet of llama shepherds that came down with laryngitis and they lost their flock, or they forgot about their flock. They came down with laryngitis. They all forgot about their flock. This quartet of llama shepherds. Did you hear about that?
Yeah.
Yeah. What was the headline?
I think it was the 4 horsemen of the alpaca lapse.
The 4 horsemen of the alpaca lapse, you say?
Yeah. I was like, yep, that was what I read.
Okay. Well, you heard it here first, folks. While I still have your undivided attention, what else did I not get to here? Let's see, I wrote down. Uh-oh. Can't let dead air happen. Well,
One second, guys.
holding it down. Holding it down.
You're filling it with something. All right, so I'm back. Let's actually talk about rhetoric and aesthetic, and being able to separate it from the essence, and the importance of hatred when valuing what's good. So let's look up what the definition of rhetoric is real quick.
No, not rhetorical. Rhetoric, yeah.
Yeah, rhetoric.
Yeah.
The art of persuasion. It is one of the 3 ancient arts of discourse, along with grammar and logic. Oh no, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about rhetoric in the trivium. Although I guess rhetoric can be truth. It's basically the performance of communication of the truth or of a lie in advertising or in propaganda.
Art of persuasion.
Yeah, so it's basically
Don Draper, basically.
it's making
Demonstration of understanding.
it's making the argument for something. But we're talking about
It's Don Draper, like doing a presentation in a boardroom, and going like, "What if Coke was? What if we made Coke with high fructose corn syrup?
brilliant. Sell it.
And then what if we sold cane sugar Coke, but it's in Mexico?"
I love it.
So
let's make it blue and red.
obviously it'd be a little bit more rhetorically persuasive than that. I'm trying to give you a picture.
It's basically the way that it's sold.
Yeah.
Okay, or the way that you sell something, which can be the truth. You can sell the truth, present the truth, perform the truth as a convincing, persuasive argument or advertisement. Okay, and then along with rhetoric, very closely related is aesthetic. 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 So it's concerned with beauty and the appreciation. What are you gonna say?
I was gonna say that this discussion is very avant-garde.
Concerned with the appreciation the appreciation of beauty, and a set of principles underlying the guiding the work of a particular artist or artistic movement. So it's basically like, if you're gonna make a car, you might as well make it look cool and make it like aerodynamic, or make it look like it goes really fast. You know, like the body of the car probably doesn't really, okay, probably plays some kind of, but not very much in like the performance of the vehicle. But goddamn, does it fucking sell the vehicle and make it look pretty. You know, same thing with a vacuum or
You know,
or any product.
People
or
go to art school to learn what aesthetics mean.
You know, color
And
theory.
They learn words like million.
Yeah.
And the truth is, aesthetic means cool. That's it.
Yeah, it looks cool.
Or beautiful.
It's beauty. It's basically making something, beautifying something.
Yeah.
But just because something is beautified or something is presented and advertised well doesn't mean it's good, does it? That has nothing to do with the valuing of it.
No, I disagree.
It's good.
I disagree, actually. Well, okay, yeah, this is a really good discussion. Well, because here's the thing, Jared. You can have an appetite for the ugly and call it beautiful.
Okay, yeah.
And the Bible says, woe to those who call
that's
good
another
evil,
form of aesthetic.
evil good.
There's an aesthetic for ugly. There's ugly aesthetic, but it's still aesthetic.
Yeah.
Okay, like you can have kinks and you can have weird,
There's evil aesthetics and there's good
yeah,
aesthetics.
but I'm saying, it's basically the beautification, whatever you consider the concept of beauty is, the advertising, whatever would be effectively advertised to you based on your values. It's not. My point is it has nothing to do with the value. It just has to do with the beauty and the advertise and the effectively communicated to somebody else. But as far as like, what is this thing? How does it benefit me? And now that I have it and everybody's gone, it's already been sold. I already bought it. Whether I think it looks good or not, does it actually work? Does this improve my life? Does it do what it said it was supposed to do?
You should look up utilitarianism.
So what we're talking about is the essence.
Utilitarianism.
You want to look up utilitarian first?
Yeah. I kind of think what you're describing is utilitarianism, which is, I think, a self-contradictory wrong thing, and it's super self-contradictory. It's the ethical theory that argues an action is morally right if it produces the greatest amount of good for the greatest number of people. See how see the circularity of it, Jared? Do you see the circular reasoning there?
No, I don't. What are you talking about?
An action is morally right if it produces the greatest amount of good.
Yeah.
Okay, let's use a synonym for morally right. Let's
good?
Let's use the word good. An action is good if it
good
produces.
For who, right?
Listen. An action is so. Let's just change morally right to good. Okay. An action is good if it produces the greatest amount of good. That's a circular definition.
Yeah, good to who? That's what I said.
Yeah, they avoid the question, or actually they do have an answer. Good to them, the philosopher that wrote the theory.
Let's look up the definition of good. Okay.
And this is where the trolley problem comes from. You know the trolley dilemma?
I don't see how they're related.
That's utilitarianism is what the philosophers.
Oh, the greater good. The idea of the greater good.
Yeah.
Okay, it's better for one person to die than two people to die.
According to them, yeah.
I see the trolley problem as a very weak statist rhetoric that they use to justify evil. You don't need a trolley analogy, or I mean, what I'm saying is you would need a trolley analogy to justify evil. When in actuality, you shouldn't try to justify evil. Like, evil is evil, regardless of if it's the greater evil or not.
I actually wrote a 45-page PDF
or the greater whatever
about the my personal and true solution to the trolley problem, and it's for sale if you want to buy my 45-page PDF to the correct answer on the trolley dilemma. But I'll just tell you it right now. I'll give you the elevator pitch.
I know what it is, but yeah, go ahead and summarize it.
Here's mine. Is whenever you encounter any lever at all, any lever, you should pull it. What do you think, Josiah? You weren't listening. It's fine.
Okay.
It's fine. That's a joke, by the way.
I don't think that's
But it's 45 pages explaining why that's correct.
Because the lever existed and you were aware of it, now you can't walk away from it.
And you have to pull it if you want to be good person. It doesn't matter what the lover does. That's the point. Yeah.
They're leaving out the value judgment of morality. Okay, like if something is morally right, or morally wrong, then they're gonna say, okay, well, if it's morally wrong, would you rather be a greater degree of morally wrong or a lesser degree of morally wrong? Now you're responsible
And let's remember,
if you don't pull the lever.
The stupid thing about it.
And it's like,
the stupid thing
but
about it is
how about just not support evil and walk away?
Their definitions of what's good and bad, like valuing human life and so on, it's all just neutered down, weak milquetoast versions of true morality, which comes from the Bible and God's word.
No, true morality comes from the innate hatred of theft. Okay, I would argue that actually.
Okay.
We are all born with an innate hatred of theft because in order to be born with freedom and the ability to have free will choice, we would love, or we would all expect to keep what we create. Mm-hmm. No one likes somebody else to come in and interfere with what they created.
How far are we in this outline, by the way, just Jared?
I mean, how far are we in that? I think I got halfway in this section, and then we have one more section after this.
Okay.
Okay, so according to Google, definition of good is to be desired or approved of, or two, having the qualities required for a particular role, or that which is morally right, righteousness, or benefit or advantage to someone or something. Okay, I would say, yeah, that's funny. Number 1 is the right answer. Number 2 is the Satan's answer. But either way, what we're talking about is, to have the advantage, because truth innately gives you the advantage. Or what is good? If I could sum up all 4 of these definitions, I would say what is good is that which is true and gives you the advantages as a result of being true. But also what is morally right, which also should be what gives you the advantage. You should have a greater advantage if you're morally right than somebody who got what they want without being morally right, because then somebody who is morally right can come along and have the advantage over them. Being moral and being true are basically almost the same thing. They give you an advantage because they are superiorly useful. Okay, the truth is more superiorly useful than something that is less true, and something that is morally right has a greater superiorly advantage over something that is less morally right. Because what we're talking about is acknowledging the truth that people hate theft. People hate theft, and therefore that which protects, that which gives you the advantage of avoiding theft, or that which gives you the advantage in any category, but also avoiding theft. Like that's kind of like a staple in what gives you an advantage. What is good? So the essence, I wanted to look up the essence of something. Is the fundamental nature or most important quality of something a concentrated substance with the special qualities of the original material, or a lifestyle magazine or African American?
That's what you're talking. That's what we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
The magazine essence.
What the fuck? Why is this in there? Okay. The fundamental nature, the core or basic quality of a thing that makes it what it is. For example, the essence of love is unselfishness. The concentrated substance, a substance that has been physically or chemically separated from another source to capture its special qualities, such as a fragrance. Essence magazine. an African monthly lifestyle
You
magazine.
should look up the Aristotle's definition because he's the one who really defines it.
Okay. Aristotelian.
No, not Aristotelian, just Aristotle. Oh, because
Aristotelian.
there's such a thing as Aristotelianism. That's not what Aristotle wrote. Like it's something else. So just type Aristotle.
Oh, whoops. For Aristotle, the essence of a thing is the fundamental defining quality that makes it what it is. It's the what it is of a thing, or it's what it was to be, and is captured by its definition. This essence is distinct.
What it was to be. So it's potential.
Yeah, or it's like as if for instance, if you invented the vacuum cleaner, but it's a shoddy vacuum cleaner.
Oh, okay.
Okay. The essence is distinct from accidental properties.
There you go. That's a really important distinction.
As it explains what makes a thing the kind of thing it is, like a rational animal for a human.
Why don't you look up accidental property?
Accidental property is a characteristic of an object that is not essential to its identity and can change without altering its fundamental nature, i.e., the aesthetic and rhetoric of a product or service.
Okay, yeah. It can be essentially good without.
Yeah, examples include the color of a shirt or the specific hairstyle, which can be changed without changing the fact that it is still a shirt or a person.
Okay, I don't
So
know.
like
but
a blue car, a blue sports car.
You can take away the
It is a car.
You can take away the paint job, or you can change the color of the paint job, but it'll still be a car.
Yeah, and if you change and if the thing doesn't function and work as a car, it doesn't fucking matter how pretty or how well it was sold.
Not a car.
It's not a car. Where are the wheels?
It's a broken car, but it's not a car. Okay, it's not a functional car.
So
wait. So that is a accidental property versus an essential property. So let's just remember those two words, accidental versus essential. That's why you should have this document open on the side, like the way I had it. But then you'd have to move the window here.
Essential property
versus
of
accidental.
An object.
You can just say essential versus accidental.
Versus accidental property.
Can you please format that?
Oh yeah, you're right. Oh whoops, my bad. That's good. That's good vocab.
You should have it like this, Jared, because then it'll be helpful as a what is it called?
Okay.
A visual guide for the episode.
That's fine. Okay, so why is hatred important in determining the value of a good? What is good? Why can you not establish or judge and value a good without hatred?
Well, I think that good. There's a lot of ways to answer it. One way I would respond just to say equal treatment of something that's good and something that's evil shows that you have a preference for neither, which is in itself evil. And so basically wrath and judgment of evil and having anger, not sinning but acting on your anger in sort of, let's call it righteous judgment, that is an expression of love. It's an expression of love for the good, because if you love the good, then you want to like you want to promote, you want to like, it's like your baby, you know, and the bad, the evil is like
or not just
wolf.
not just the evil,
Yeah.
but the like the unfunctionality,
Yeah.
the accidental,
Yeah.
you know, the shoddiness,
Yeah.
the inefficiency. There's
Let me
lots
just
of
make
different,
this distinction here. You can arrive at
the imperfection.
you,
Sorry.
you can arrive at oh, okay, yeah. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
You can no, I'll wait. Are you ready?
Yeah.
You can arrive at a healthy hatred of evil from the starting place of loving the good. But you cannot arrive at a healthy love of the good by starting at the starting place of hating evil.
Well, you need both, is what you're
You
trying to
need
say.
both, but I'm saying one comes from the other, but the other doesn't come from the one. A comes from B, but B doesn't come from A. Or yeah.
You're saying hatred comes from
A
love.
healthy
Hatred comes from love, but love doesn't come from hate.
I'm saying a healthy hatred comes from love. An unhealthy hatred doesn't come from love.
But love can't come from healthy hatred. You can't start off hating what is bad and then arrive at love.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Or maybe you can.
Well, no, I'm saying that just being exposed to evil will never give you a love of the good. You need to be exposed to the good to love the good. But being exposed to the good gives you an understanding of evil, because something that's good is truth. The truth is good.
I would say,
So you can learn the truth about evil, you know,
Yeah.
and hate it without being exposed to it, you know, if you love the good, you know.
yeah.
So from the starting place of loving what's good, you can arrive at a healthy hatred of the evil. But if you start out from not having a love of the good, but rather...
We're not just talking about hatred of evil, we're talking about hatred of imperfection.
Yeah.
So, like, for instance, if you had never seen, I keep coming back to vacuum cleaner, but we could use any invention that, like something comes out, you know. And it's the first of that, it's the first kind of its kind of invention. No one has ever seen anything like this before. They would be like, whoa, it does that? Whoa, that's so cool. You know, but then if it works like shit,
It makes custard!
yeah, but then it'd be like, I wish it did it better. You know what I mean? There'd be like that, like if it works good, it'd be like, oh, this works great.
Yeah.
But if it's a shoddy first version of it, it'd be like, I wish this did it better though, you know? Or if you didn't have hatred, you would just be like, this is so great and I can't see any bad side. You know, and you would just be like, we should keep this forever.
Yeah. It would be rude to say something. So let's just eat these cockroaches forever. Forever.
It would be rude to say something. So let's just buy it. Okay? Let's just buy it and use it to be polite.
Let's just buy it every week for the rest of our lives.
To be polite.
Just to be polite.
Yeah. So you can see the point I'm making here is that you need hatred to value.
It's a tool.
What? To value something.
It's a tool that God has given us. It's an extremely important what's it called, sensor, or like signal thing, like what's it called, like a compass. Yeah, it's like a tool.
Yeah.
Extremely.
How do you improve upon something? How do you improve upon something without hatred?
Yeah.
It's perfect just the way it is, and I love you.
Here's the thing. We're talking about anger, but there's something we need a word for, which is the mental, spiritual sort of.
It's hate. Sorry.
You need to stop doing that. And you ask why I want to get up to smoke a cigarette? Are you kidding me? Okay, so like, we're talking about hatred, but we need a word for the thing that accompanies being able to use hatred in a positive way. The use of hatred in a good way, that you could almost think of it like some kind of mastery of the soul has to happen. You talk about shadow work, I talk about salvation. I think salvation also includes a lot of salvation. Sanctification involves salvation, and salvation is involves shadow work. I meant to say sanctification involves a lot of shadow work, and so does, if you want to use that language, but essentially it's being able to integrate the parts of yourself that God intended you to have. One of those is anger, but in a positive sense, which they would call shadow work in Jungian terms. And
yeah, appreciate
okay, that was the thing I wrote down here. Okay, I want to let you talk after this. Shadow work equips one with tools such as what would be called Machiavellian tactics. Where it's like, okay, like because I love the good so much and I hate the evil so much, I'm gonna use tactics and craftiness to fight evil or whatever. However, God says let him fight, but God also uses people. So the question is like, how do you know you're doing what God wants? Well, if you're not praying and reading the Bible, you're probably not. No, but however, he'll still use you, but he'll use you because like he'll use you according to your disobeying him, as opposed to using you according to your obeying him. He can do both. He hardened Pharaoh's heart using him like according to his disobedience, and he blessed Abraham kind of using him, so to speak, in a sense, like to carry out his purpose.
How is this related? This seems like a completely different topic, but I want to connect them.
I was saying that okay. Here's how it connects. Shadow work, actually, in my opinion, it should bring you closer in relationship to God, and that involves being able to become stronger and saying, no, I'm right, they're wrong. But not when you're wrong, because that wouldn't be the Holy Spirit telling you that. I'm talking about the situations in which you're actually right and they are actually wrong. And Martin Luther is a good example of that. Total iconoclast, firebrand. And so the ability to do that is important. And it's villainized in the sense that it's always portrayed, almost always, except in underdog stories, which we all love because it's true. Sometimes you are right and they're all wrong. But it's almost always portrayed as somebody who's hubristic and incredibly proud and stupid. And it's I'm right. But that's how it's portrayed if you disagree with the public, or in a setting where things are in any of Sane's systems.
Can I jump in here and try to help you?
And I don't know, let me just see if I finished up here. Oh yeah, okay. I said that Martin Luther saying kind of losing track here. I am getting tired. Maybe we should wrap up actually.
Yeah, it's okay. We'll wrap up after this section and we'll do the next section on the next show. But I think
shadow work enables you it gives you, when it's done right, it gives you inner fortitude to stand by your true personal convictions that are opposed by the group or whatever. and that leads you to be able to decide to be, to adopt, like, maybe like a called for but yet still like radical position, such as, maybe a Machiavellian position or an accelerationist position. Do you know what accelerationism is?
No, I don't.
All right, let's look that one up, and then I'll let you close the show out after that.
Acceleration is a political or social theory promoting the radical acceleration of capitalism, technological development, or societal collapse to bring about a new future political order.
Better way to phrase that is the acceleration of capitalism to bring about a social collapse.
Oh yeah, okay. But we're not talking about real capitalism though. We're talking about crony cap or
I guess whatever you want to call this sort of
government regulated capitalism.
Yeah.
Speed it up. Knock it turn it up by a couple notches. Turn it up to 11 and then watch it overheat.
And but the reason, their motive for saying that is they say the only way out is through. Like we've tried all of these competitive ideologies to capitalism, and they all fall by the wayside. Well, I guess the only way out is through. Let's speed everything up so that we can end this thing, whatever it is.
It's a Hegelian dialectic.
Yeah.
Problem, reaction, solution is more government, but this time we're gonna go back to feudalism.
Yeah. So I think it's misguided, but it does come from that people who have done, I think, bad shadow work. Bad meaning they didn't actually integrate things in a good way, and then they become super convicted about their beliefs, and their beliefs because something went wrong in that shadow work, they don't believe the truth, and it's a really poisonous thing, like I said earlier, to believe a lie for a decade, and you end up saying things like, you end up standing firmly convicted and standing by the position that, like, accelerationism is correct, and we need to, recklessly destroy everything in order to destroy capitalism or whatever. So, yeah, what I'm saying, Jared, you can be zealous. I'm talking about zealousness, yeah. You can be zealous for the truth, or you can be zealous for a lie.
Yeah, I think where you were trying to connect this idea of like God uses people who are going in the wrong direction for the good.
People who are zealous for the truth in Him, He uses them. No, but He also uses people who are zealous for lies.
But to bring that, but to rephrase that
Yeah.
in a less Christian way that still makes sense to what we're talking about, is to say that that good or God, but I'm talking about good. Good will still show itself for what it is, and even people who are raging against and trying to supersede and do the wrong thing but try to sell it as right are also playing into showing the truth for other people for what is good ultimately. It's like no matter what, basically, like you can't rail against good without lifting up good in the end. You know what I mean? I think that's the takeaway from this. The truth is the truth and good is good. Even if you try to redefine it, manipulate, mind control people into telling them what they think is good first and then selling them a bad product, is still going to show what is not good, thereby lifting up the principle of what is good in the end. Pretty much like justice prevails because the truth is always there to see for people who have the ability to see it. And good is always able to be valued by the individual. And the individual can value good with their hate and knowing what they don't want. or what works, what's bad. Basically, you can't try to fudge good without revealing good, right?
Yes, it reminds me of a saying, and I really like this saying. You cannot satirize something without having at least a little bit of love or respect for it. Or at least you can't satirize it well. You can satirize it poorly, but you can only satirize it well if you have a little bit of love and respect for that thing. Yeah.
And you can wrap a bad product in really good aesthetic and rhetoric, but in the end, it's just going to show what a bad product wrapped in. We're selling them, and after all the mind control worked on them, they're still left with the product itself.
And you know what? Coke tastes good. I'll keep buying that garbage or whatever Trump said.
Are you ready to do an outro? You gotta use the restroom first.
You actually, I don't have something prepared for an outro.
No, I got something. I can do an outro.
Okay. All right. Well, then let's just say our ending.
So hopefully everybody can make proper value judgments using their hatred and valuing their hatred and valuing the hatred in other people, changing our perspective our universal perspective on hatred as being a good thing.
Jared, may I phrase it like this? Hopefully this encourages people to discern the value of any specific form of hatred that they're encountering, because God hates evil, so
and imperfection.
You can't turn to God and say, you're being hateful, that's bad. So you need to discern between good hatred and bad hatred. That's how I would phrase it. Okay. Yeah.
And also appreciate your hatred and appreciate hatred in others. When somebody is bitching and moaning, like, oh, I don't want to listen to that because it makes me feel a certain way. Maybe be like, well, what are they actually saying about this thing? Because maybe I have something to fucking learn about this bitching and moaning, that maybe I can change my perspective on this thing that I think is good. Or, okay, whatever. Maybe sometimes there's some bitching and moaning that's like, it's not productive, because it's like, we all know that it's bad. You just because you're complaining, just because you're complaining that it's bad doesn't make it any more enlightened for us.
You do a lot of that.
Okay, but I'm saying though that like you can still appreciate it nonetheless, of saying like, hey, thanks for reminding us that it's bad, because we don't see a lot of that. We don't see a lot of people recognizing what's bad. Okay, so like bitching and moaning, at least appreciate it for being able to see what's bad. Like, okay, yeah, we know it's bad. I'm glad you know it's bad too.
Yeah, exactly. We need to get past this point of phobia, of anger phobia or whatever.
Hatred phobia.
Hatred phobia. Just a blanket dismissal of any expression of anger or hatred. We need to get past that. Yeah.
And make better. We need to make better value judgments.
You're supposed to expose evil, and
stop buying bad products and services.
You can't expose evil politely. You can't do it.
Yeah. You can't. You need to.
Yeah.
You need to use your hate and make a face.
You're gonna offend somebody.
Yeah, and offend the fuck out of somebody who thinks that it's good.
Okay, I'll say this before we end. There's a difference between being an edgelord and being somebody who's not afraid to offend in pursuit of saying the truth.
Yeah. Use proper rhetoric.
Offending somebody, that makes you an edgelord if that's what you care about, is offending people. If you care about saying the truth, you're not an edgelord. But you're not afraid of offending people, Yeah, anyway. Okay. Let's end the stream here. Let's end it.
So, hold on a second. Let me just play you guys out with something. Oh, I know what to play you guys out with.
Melt banana. Wait, I know. I can do melt banana. You don't even have to play it.
What?
Here's how it goes. Oh wait,
that's exactly how it goes.
That's Diane Wood. Sorry. Here's melt banana. I'm just kidding.
Next time, we're going to talk about alternate government services like militias, armed neighborhood watch programs, homeless coalitions, public assassination guilds, and decentralized social network credit scores. Have a wonderful rest of your day, guys. Thank you for listening. I really appreciate anyone who's listening. Let me check the chat real quick. Okay. Thanks for anybody who donated in the chat. Maybe next time offer some counter argument that I can respond to. Everyone have a wonderful rest of your day.
secrets.